Heck, as you
All
were,
right.
Tim. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was a good
I
catch.
didn't mean to.
We literally just said we'd be posting it on our YouTube. So, yeah. So let's go back to. I have to share this page quick. Couple things. The one thing on this main page I'd love some feedback from the council, from others on, is we sort of just started rolling again as council. We want to highlight projects. We've really only funded one big thing so far. I think we are open to highlighting projects that we are invested in, if not just financially. So any other ideas of what might be something worth highlighting on the main page of our website, especially as we only recently just kicked off. I mean, we just changed the title to both of these as past projects, which is not great visually, but as you can see, literally the last things we were really highlighting for 2020 and 2019, and that's not great. So if you guys have any ideas, we'd love to highlight some things on our main page. Here we go. I did want to show you guys some that's just worth for the council knowing. Sorry, I just got things in the way. Probably just relevant for you guys, for council members, is our media center. This is where we'll continue to send out emails with information like our agendas and the PowerPoints and the recordings. But this is where you would find both all of our press releases, our annual reports, and then also under About. I don't know that About is maybe the best spot actually for it, but it's where you'll find the meeting information. This is where we would post and do post our agendas, the PowerPoints, any materials that came up during the meeting that we want public to be aware about. And then a link to the recording. This is the first time we're recording, so there aren't any links yet, but we're the first time that we're publicly posting our recordings. You'll also find all of the previous meetings, at least since we started meeting again in 2024 with that end of year meeting we had. And then I want your feedback on our business directory. That we did fix pretty much all the dead links. Because that's pretty easy. That wasn't even us, actually. That's just the state's ITS department went through for us and fixed all the dead links. But our directory here has 426 businesses listed. I don't know what businesses are still even exist, because this was made pre-COVID. This website and this directory. A lot of things didn't survive the pandemic, and one of those might have been some of these 426 businesses. On top of that, I don't know that we're highlighting all of the appropriate businesses we should be. Like Kelly, I can tell you Adirondack Barrow Cooperage is not listed in our directory, and it should be.
Yeah.
Among many others that I think you guys know of and are aware of that should be highlighted, and others that maybe sawmills that maybe have closed or other businesses that the contacts are bad. We can start going through, but it'll take a long time to just call all 426 phone numbers. So
you know the source of this material?
I was hoping you had a
question.
So that question, Jack.
I use
Sloan's,
the DT directory.
I was thinking that's what it was from, was the primary and secondary,
Yeah,
of
so
which is burial. So one is 2015, the other is 2007.
yeah, it's my understanding that the Lands and Forest staff went about that by crunching a lot of data, like tax records and publicly available data to get at that. And that was in the moment back then. But since then, it hasn't been updated. I'm the one that fields all the calls for people trying to access those. If there's a blank link, it defaults to my desk, and it is discombobulated.
Yeah.
It's not that it was done in the wrong way when it was originally done, but I think it's 15 years into the future, and there is a little space I want to talk about that specific need coming up a little bit later.
But we should probably on the side step back and sort through and find out, A, what are the sources of the data?
Mhm.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
how, well, originally, how was it compiled? And then B, how can, I'm certain this data is
Updated,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely,
anywhere from
absolutely.
7 to 10 years old,
at least.
which is gonna be very different than what it is today. I mean, just in the first page,
Exactly.
there's 3 mills that no longer exist.
Sure.
I don't wanna go to the next, next 43 pages.
Sure.
But so we gotta be cautious.
Yeah, a little
And
bit.
then, and then the way it's sorted, like we say, product sold, I don't know how we wanna do that, primary, secondary. There's a ton of ways people are gonna wanna search this data,
Mhm.
and there's gotta be a better way that we can do it, but.
To filter it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we're bringing it to you. I mean, we on the back end,
I mean, I wouldn't take anything down, it's there,
Mhm.
it is what it is, based on the data we have, but there's gotta be a better way to delve into this.
Well, and the other issue is keeping it updated.
Yeah.
Like, how are we gonna, like, we can do this today and then 2 months from now, a business could close or whatnot. So we would have to get a timeline and make sure we can keep this
Yeah.
website updated with the most current information, whether that's.
Well, and I'm
yearly,
curious if
6 months.
any of that data set is gonna be part of the data we just contracted with ESF to do. In terms of the data that they're,
Not specific businesses.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so.
okay, I don't know the full scope. of that.
Mhm.
I gotta go through our files, see what we have.
I just want to remind folks in this room, we do have folks on the system too, so we can just speak
So
up.
no, we should on the side probably set up a meeting.
John, I think that ESF project with Mariella and John Wagner was focusing on the SIC codes. SIC,
Would have a lot of this data.
yes,
Could
they should.
So we should have a sit down maybe, and we just sit back and say, what are the sources that got this data originally? And then what can help us get to an updated version of it?
Mhm.
And then from there, how do we generate it? Then backing out, then.
How do we keep it maintained?
Right.
When I've talked to them, it's like, oh, we're not dealing with the individual companies, we're dealing with the macro. It's like,
Agreed,
okay.
agreed, but
Okay.
part of that data set's gonna help us sort out who are the primary business, secondary businesses.
Yes,
The SIC code should help us get a rough sort of that.
yeah, and they need to be looked at the same time. Some of the individuals.
No, but if they got the data set, we can get the sort. Sorting it is not a big challenge.
Mhm.
Another thing here, I'm not sure how easy it is to do with 400 and some, but the contact information has these things that are called phone and faxes. numbers.
Faxes.
And
Yeah,
it's not
fax
like a-
numbers,
It's not like a web link to a company.
There's a lot, and we have some of
Right.
those, but not all of these companies are not necessarily members of ours. So.
Mhm.
And so, if you wanted to ask for a couple truckloads or whatever from
Mhm.
Bailey or a Dutchess, you probably would get more directly to the right place through what they put on the internet, their website, than the
I
phone
think
number.
they're hot linked to their websites.
But either way, we should,
Yeah.
rather than take the whole council's time,
Yeah,
we could set up a time that Lands and Forests, Ag Markets, ESF and ourselves could.
Yeah.
Say, all right, how do we,
Oh, exactly. And we didn't expect
and
to.
if not, I mean, great summer's graduate student work.
Well, yeah.
We task somebody to help us sort through this.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Right, and we're not asking you all to be the ones to sort through this. It was one, I'd love for you to look at it. I don't know if you've ever really explored our website, so
Yeah.
I want you to know this is here, but sure, you have, John. I want you to know this is here. I personally, before meeting with our ITS department, making us aware that business directory is like the main thing people are going to our website for. I'm not sure I would have argued that we are even the people to maintain this list. But now I think it is important. It is what people are looking for. So of course, we on the back end will figure out the actual details of it, but I want from you guys ideas on potentially sorting on businesses that you might have that you know of that we are not highlighting.
I was just gonna say, why can't
If
you
not
like,
us, who?
Right.
Right? I mean, if not us, who? I mean, we should be sort of the umbrella, I would think, and we can get, input from various organizations that are represented around the table here and populate it that way.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, does it hurt to reach out to them that we're from the Wood Council? We're updating our website and just like,
Of
go
course.
from there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and, I don't
Good
know.
Good idea,
who-
Kathy.
Mhm.
How does Ag Markets maintain its nursery and greenhouse
That's
list?
through licenses.
Right.
So there's a really large database for those that are seeking license registrations to grow or to distribute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tate's New York, that is also a kind of a vetted for businesses to be vetted and added, right?
Yeah, that's for value added.
Right.
New York value
But
added.
just thinking of the process that a
Yep.
business goes through.
Which this probably went through a very similar one because the
Yeah.
Wood Products was staffed and supported by Ag Development,
Right.
Right.
which runs the
Mhm.
Taste New
Tate's
York
New
and other
York, right.
data sets for different
Are
businesses.
those immediately shareable, or is that something that we would have to get the buy-in of the producer in order to put
Buy-in
them on a
from the
list?
producer,
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Which we would want to do here as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to highlight, I mentioned earlier, was business directory and it was education. People are coming to our webpage to figure out what university stuff, forestry programs. That was an easier one to maintain and update, but we'll be talking later about educational opportunities. People aren't going to our website looking for training and other things. So just another thing to keep in your mind to let us know if we want to. The only way to grow traffic on our website is to keep it current and updated. So any opportunities that you have that you know of, do be sending it to us so that we can make sure that it's highlighted on our website. Even on our main page. I mean, these are the two things, directory and education. I think should be highlighted on our main page, also past and current projects, but really it should be those two things that people are coming to our website for.
Mhm.
I do want to also say, when Tim was going through the past project site, those projects were really, they seem very impactful. And we wanted to maintain them on our website so that we could draw from that again. You know, if it's something we want to do again, of course, that Jeff will be talking about that a little later, but you know, 2019, 2020, during the COVID pandemic, kind of time stood still in a way. So yes, it's dated, but those were worthy projects to continue to archive on our website.
I must say, Tim, it's visually appealing, the site.
Yeah, you know, there was, and that's not, I mean, that's not me. There was a lot of work that went into this originally to build this out. And we're still trimming down. Some of these pages are a lot of information. And the information isn't bad, but some of it is a bit clunky even. There's just a lot on this website. Like this is, these are local, counties, I guess, CCE county offices, and it's important things starts to maintain, but there's a lot that went in. So, so bear with us as we update this website and clean it up. Yeah.
Just have a quick thought, the photographs don't really match, a lot of them don't really match the company.
We have.
Oh, yeah, with the, in the directory.
Yeah,
Right, I'm sure a lot of those are just generic woodlot photos.
Yeah, but if it's generic sawmill,
Right.
but, you know.
Some of them have
Some of
logos
them
and
are-
things. We could just put their logo as the, yeah, so,
Some of the photographs are way off and some are generic enough that.
yeah.
So
but
Tim,
that's-
so that's some of the current updates that we've been able to make, but there's also, you know, kind of broader, more comprehensive work that you're all doing with ITS. You want to talk a little bit about that and
I mean,
wrap this up? Sorry.
well, we're just, well, actually, what do you mean? How do you mean?
I think the insights you just shared is really some of
Yeah.
the hard
Yeah.
work. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they come at it from a very unique perspective.
They do,
It's
yes.
very eye-opening and it's way
It was.
above us. But
Yeah, it is very, you know, it's pretty technical, but it is all good information. I mean, the reports on like actual clicks, it turns out it is very helpful, for how our website is used. So, and, again, it's a big website, so part of me would rather shrink it down, make it a little more concise and direct and, but I don't know that we necessarily need to. We just have to make it easier to use.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I kind of meant by it, because there's that need to maybe consolidate and reorganize a little bit. And I think ITS was kind of helping us to visualize what that might look like.
Yeah, that is what they were doing. They were showing us how to make this a little more usable, a little cleaner. So we'll keep meeting with that. And I think that's all I have. Your timing, what, 10:30? Yeah, that's.
Yeah, okay, it's a good time to segue into the potential funding opportunities. So at our last meeting, Jeff led us through the rather arcane but necessary machinations that we have to go through to actually spend the money that we're looking to spend. And now today, Jeff is going to talk to us about cost share programs to benefit landowners, startups, and industry. Jeff.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, so there's gonna be a nice chunk of time here where we can, I'm really looking to get as much input as possible. We have, our budget is about $600,000. Now, that doesn't necessarily represent the status of our annual appropriations, which has been reduced to 20,000 right now. One of the reasons for that is because the council's been idled for the last 5 years. And so when we look at 600,000 to spend, there is a sense of urgency. We did just supplement a 5-year contract with numerous deliverables from ESF to the tune of 500 plus. But that is, that's ongoing research. It's fundamental to advancing, industry supports and things like that. So then how do we look at this 600,000? Maybe our sandbox might be 500,000 for the time being. Let's just kind of frame it that way. I'd like to hear from the council and really from some of our agency partners on what these things might look like. I don't want to bore the council members with what we at agencies have to deal with to kind of, ensure cost effectiveness and get these out the door. But some of them look like cost share programs, right? A fully structured request for proposals that targets institutions or industry producers. Or we could have things like we have in the past where we entertain proposals and we vet them in the room. Maybe we bump steer those proposals and then ultimately award them. Both can be very targeted and important. But let's think about, we have landowners, we have startups, we have established industry. That's just a small. There's going to be another slide where I talk about, education, outreach, materials, and some other of those needs. But if we can take the time to kind of hear from everybody who has an opinion or exposure to this, what might be strategic, what might be cost effective, and what might have residual or legacy projects. The only reason that those 2019 efforts have legacy, yes, there was collaboration. Yes, it was strategic, but it's because it's existing on our webpage. I'm from the perspective where I think that if through a competitive process, we can leverage collaboration, encourage other organizations to be a part of it, and to kind of force match. That's a great way to touch a lot of people, get other people talking, have the industry maybe working with other segments of the world that they may not. So I want to open the floor. We can talk about all sorts of things. They could be micro grants. They could be they could be a competitive grant with no top to it. Maybe if we put this money out, there's only a few people that are going to participate. So, do we want to limit these to 10 or 50,000, or do we have kind of these ambitious plans that we may allow 1 or 2 institutions to say, yeah, we have a great idea that can, you know, impact a lot of people, but it's gonna cost 250. So the floor is gonna be open for a while to talk about these things.
Yeah, I'll just frame one more thing too, right? Like how can we use this amount of money to really multiply impact, right? Out there. But to Jeff's point, really, you know, if it's not a lot of money, but it's something that then can be a springboard to you know, more assistance later on, whether it's through cost share or, you know, we've set, you know, certain certain industries and partners up, you know, really to take it from there. So.
So let me just, I'm going to seed the conversation a little bit. One of the things our partners at DEC brought up is maybe a smaller grant to supplement producers to help them qualify for grants, a grant writer, you know, strategic grant writer. And that's interesting because it's unclear exactly how through ag and markets mechanisms we can reach private industry as well. So there's some other concerns there, but we've heard things about grant writers, again, maybe micro grants. You know, we can talk more about workforce development, but really it's about how you may think this money should go out, get out the door. Who do we really want to target? And I'm not sure what limitations we have reaching industry professionals or individuals. And that's what's a little bit difficult. So, you got any ideas, Scott?
I've been working with other states and a lot of them are going more to a more robust roadmap to help foster ideas that can be shared out to public figures, just drumming up interest in how ways to add additionality.
Like painting the industry with a really broad brush, right?
Yeah.
Making connections.
Or just really pointing out, highlighting what we're good at, what we could improve, and giving some big overview suggestions or ways to maybe promote that.
And the roadmap is a consensus building endeavor, you know, should ideally bring together in the hundreds of people to better understand and analyze the current state and kind of map out a future state, how we get to a better future state. But it's really an engagement.
So we're forcing collaboration early on while we identify the problems and deal with it.
I mean, I I would say fostering coordination, but like, you know, if you've read the Vermont roadmap, like they went through a really significant and important process to bring people together, and Maine's did too. And it seems like a fairly robust process, and at the very least, a framework for then, you know, using funding as it comes up, depending on the different amounts, it kind of shows you where the funding could be most impactful.
And showing that's what elected officials saying, look, we've already found some consensus with the user groups. We don't have to really sell it, playing to one party or interest group that over another, saying, no, this is already kind of built consensus in from the group that they cast a wide net and condense it down for us.
So that sounds like a big ticket plan with a single outcome, but I want to make it, let's differentiate that from what we did with ESF. ESF is doing a regional and New York State specific economic analysis of the contributions of wood products. This roadmap really is different, right? It's getting all of the stakeholders, hopefully even expanding the stakeholder group, bring them together and okay, that's good. That's good to help me know. Go ahead.
I just have a question. Is there an example of how this roadmap, how was it made? How did they Just give me an example, like
Yeah.
it's robust, you said.
Well, the process
Yeah,
seems
right.
very robust. So, yeah, we have the contract that Vermont used to
And,
generate the roadmap, and you can read the roadmap and see
okay,
what the process was. It's all described. It's a, probably, it might even be on your website, the other state roadmaps, or it could be a good, a useful thing to put on the
Yeah, I think
website.
we did one. Should be
Yeah.
useful.
So I have Maine's
Yeah,
up on my
Maine's is a
screen
big
for
one.
2025.
Right.
But my understanding, I've gone through it with a fine tooth comb, but they went out, surveyed different entities of the forest industry, and then started finding common ground. So they're doing essentially what we're looking to do, try finding consensus. They're going out there and doing that ahead of times. And with us not having to put we're putting the resources to it, but not our time to developing it.
okay, so if we're updating our website, we have those 400 companies on the website. And could this be a working way to this roadmap? You get their information, you say, hey, what are your concerns? You know, and maybe we might learn at the same time, the concerns or stuff that's working, and two birds with one stone.
Yeah. fine.
I don't know if they would bring all that information, and give it to us.
I'm just
I
saying,
don't
like,
know how it
just general talk, right? How else do we learn things? We have conversations with people, right? And it seems like a starting point.
So I wonder if there's a way to take, you know, if ESF is putting together this picture of what's out there for forest products, and you were to bid those into some of these, you know, you've got these three categories. I think this idea of looking at, let's update who's out there, then use a portion of the funds to get a proper survey done. Find a survey team, an academic, someone who does social survey. Ask not only what's out there, but how and what do you do? What problems are you having? What grants, if available, would be useful to you? Do you have, you know, you were planning on doing some plannings, you were planning on doing a thinning, you were planning on investing in new machinery, and do some of that needs survey. And make it clear with the needs survey that we're putting together pools of capital that are going to target each of these groups. And there's going to be, you know, some of this small, the sort of smaller money cost share programs to help landowners do small projects. And then there's going to be some opportunity for some big ticket, potentially transformative projects. We've got the survey. We can bring people together and solicit the ideas by saying, what would be useful to you? These pools of money are going to exist. And then put these out essentially as, look at all of this as these are pilot programs to see what works and what gets traction and subscription, and what's going to place enough relatively small bets, but be willing, if there's something really exciting, to place a bigger bet, with the idea that that's a process that's likely to get us both information for the future, but also generate success stories because you're putting enough bets out on the table. You're also just building the network and the flow of information into the council. Because if the council's been sort of asleep for a few years, waking up, just kind of generating a lot of touches with a lot of different people feels like a good way to get ideas in the room.
Folks, I'm a little lost here. Look, this council is populated by industry leaders for a reason. These are people who are in a position, through their own experience, to speak for their industry. Why don't we just ask Jen DeFrancisco, what can we do to assist the marketing of logs? Why don't we ask Kathy, what can we do to assist in the marketing and promotion of maple products? Why don't we ask the Cooperage folks, what can we do? And why are we going out to do a survey when we have experts on the council right now that can give us some guidance on things we could do to fund projects to help our industry?
Good point.
That's what we're here for. Yeah.
I agree. Is there anybody online that has, that wants to share?
I see Tom Giroux has also joined us, by the way. Welcome, Tom.
Okay, so I agree with Ed wholeheartedly. I was actually sitting here thinking that same thing, and this is not something I can just spout out off the top of my head because generally log marketing is not a thing, but I certainly think it should be a thing. So let me ruminate on this for a bit and I will answer, but I 100% agree with Ed's opinion. We were all asked to give our time to do this, so why not ask the industry?
You know, I had a question
folks?
with the, I had a question and comments about the Vermont program. Is that the same entity that has put this, they have like a conference they do every year? And they, for a day or two, is it the same entity that does this forest resource, whatever
I'm not
conference?
familiar with.
I don't know, I just, the Vermont entity,
I don't.
like it.
I mean,
I had a question just to step back, just to like, step back to the beginning where you said, also there are some things that need to be ironed out about how the funds can be given out. So we certainly, we know the mechanisms on how it can be. It can be like a cost share, it could be a grant matching program or something.
Those are,
Feedback.
those are all available. I think one of the,
somebody's gonna speak on.
one of the things that
It must be.
testing,
It's coming through Tom's.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, because
I
he's on
just
twice
asked
here.
him to mute
Yeah.
both of his
Tom
connections.
Giroux, can you mute?
Yeah, looks like he fixed it.
Okay, yep.
so I think the biggest unknown right now is how or if this council can distribute to individuals or private businesses.
But I don't wanna limit our discussion right now on that, right? We can
Yeah.
figure out like, you know, let's brainstorm, let's get some ideas, and then if there's a consensus that we could then work on, we could answer those questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that in the past, when you look at the awardees, they have been institutions, agencies, organizations, and schools? I'm getting that sense. Not to say that those didn't have a direct impact.
Yeah.
But, so that's kind of where I am right now. So I don't want to overpromise, but
But we do also have mechanisms through the division and working with soil and water districts, for example, if you are online today, who have programs that can work with private landowners, for example. So do we want to be able to provide some additional assistance to districts to do that kind of work in the forest? We also can think about ways that we might be able to help, you know, the wood products industry, whether it's you know, energy efficiency, equipment, things along those lines. Really, just you know, trying to figure out what the needs are out there. I think is, to Ed's point, is the important piece of this discussion.
Here's a couple of things that we, in the past, that this council has either considered funding or funded. For example, if there's a National Architects Convention, send people out there who set up a booth and talk about the benefits and the charm of using wood in construction. We had some guys from the North Country that were doing training for future loggers, young men and women who wanted to get into the logging industry. We considered it, I think we actually did grant them some funds. So workforce development. I mean, these are concrete things that are universal problems that affect our industry that we as a council could fund to help promote the future of the industry. I think we did something with the maple growers too, by the way, Kathy, if you might recall that.
And they're healthy, they're good. I talked to the 4-H people in our county about, do they do anything with wood products? And they said, no, because they kind of lack, for their age group, they were looking for maybe say if they're gonna make a birdhouse or a plant stand or something, they wanted somebody to produce like patterns for them that they can take it with certain age groups, already like maybe pre-made and start a program that they could work through. And they were interested in it. They also, they actually are training their leaders with that learning tree. I don't know, was this learning tree part of this council? So they started training their learners with that. I reached out to the people in Learning Tree and they took it to our maple syrup educator. And then I'm dealing with FFA a little bit, and I found some stuff at our extension where they're having things, where they have chainsaw training classes. They've already got it on board, but I think they're very well attended by young people. So those things are all happening. They probably could use some funding, and it's to be, like a little bit, throw a little bit at them so they can pay for gas and, you know what I mean, new chains or, chainsaw sharpening or whatever, new equipment, maybe the battery operated chainsaws. And I just wanted to say something. There was two conflicting, I heard, these are the words that I heard in here. Like one, I don't know, like it was like leverage to force, bump steer, and like, so that means, is this council like steering things certain direction? And the other one was like, what legacy programs, how can we multiply impact? So I feel like I'm getting two different, or are we going two directions? You understand what I'm saying? Like, are we directing these monies towards a goal, towards an end? Like climate change, carbon?
I think we
Or are
need to look, we need to just look at our mission. What is our mission?
Okay.
And we need to fund things that support our mission. And they're numerous, and there's a wide variety of things. But let people know that we have funds available for projects that support our mission.
Okay. So then will you just please say what the mission will say? Can we say it?
We can go back to.
Here's, on the screen right
Remember,
here.
the wood products industry.
For the wood product industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Birdhouses, but industry.
Yeah, this is our enabling statutes. This here is what is written into the law of what this council should prioritize.
Can you pull that up a little?
I think we're
Get any bigger.
I mean, this is
Well, and-
broad enough that all kinds of things that fit into this.
Okay.
But
That's
we
what I
need to
was just
let people
wondering.
know that it's available.
Right, and then I maybe there's some value also when it, startups and industry are listed here. There's the whole economic development council track and all that scares people off. And there's a lot of things that can't be done through those tracks, and are, typically denied. So it's like, is there a way to see if we can fill the gap in some of those needs that, some of those tracks are just too big for startups to think about? And where could we come in or put these monies out to the other councils that we have relationships with, if that's the easy way to get it out the door and have programs through them, or work with them on funding some of their programs that are successful so they can make them even bigger. Who says we have to start from scratch if there are successful ones out there that need propped up? Maybe that's a good use for the funds. But I think filling the gap between big REDC grant monies and small startups not even being able to just wrap their heads around how that works. Coming in with, funds that can help easier.
And I'll just add, I totally agree. I mean, 600,000 is not a lot of money, and it would be very easy just not just to spend it on extremely valuable projects, but not have as much of an impact as one might want to have. So kind of where are the gaps and where can this money have the greatest impact? And, everyone here is familiar with challenges and can come up with more, but what are the challenges that we think we can actually add value to and leverage with this money? The aging workforce, the need to engage the next generation, the smaller enterprises. You know, I'm not sure we've had the opportunity to conduct a gap, an analysis of the gaps, such that we can decide, you know, how to best spend the money that's available. That said, you can get into a decision paralysis mode, and that's not great either. So it's kind of where's that middle ground between like taking a few steps to support what we think are the greatest need and moving forward, but in a very in a more of a contextual and analytical way. Like why are we developing certain programs? Because there's far more need than money can address.
I would say that's what we get paid for, except we don't get paid. But I mean, that's our purpose here, to analyze people who are applying for funds, to analyze their projects and decide whether or not they're worthy. And look, people around the table are in business. They've got an idea of what might work and what might not, and they might not be right all the time, but somebody's got to decide. That's our job.
So can I ask a very, I would call it uneducated question at this point, but something I'm confused about. So for this 10:30 agenda spot, like when I got this agenda, I assumed there were opportunities you were going to be presenting us with. Exactly. Is there anything on the table right now to bring to the council that has been brought forward that we should be like Ed said, like we should be proving we should be acting on, or are we just now totally trying to speculate what people want? Like there are no projects that we're discussing today.
I'm not aware of any, and I was hoping members were going to bring things forth today.
Yeah, or at very least a consensus for us to work on what a program might look like.
Okay.
So
like the program I brought forward last time, let's say, for example, workforce development, forestry works program that we shared through the group. We talked about that. I know at that time there was a funding issue, you know, like how the funding could work. Where do we stand on something like that? Like we did bring that through the council last meeting.
Yep. And if you go back to the other slide we were just on, workforce development, education, outreach, and continuing that discussion from last meeting where we certainly came up with a consensus that was really important, something for us to advance. This is it. We could focus on those categories where we don't have to think about competitive projects for landowners, startups, or industry. If we feel like the biggest gap is in workforce development, the biggest impact we can have is on that in education and outreach, that's completely fine. But we wanted to put the idea out there that in addition to workforce development, education, outreach programs and initiatives, we could explore the opportunity to provide small grants to landowners, small grants to startup industries, ways that we could help, in the utilization side of wood products. And, so that's why we started off with that discussion, but, I still want to hear from everybody here, but if what the consensus is to move forward with education, outreach, workforce development, that will give us enough direction to say, okay, that's what we're focused on, right? We feel like there's already enough funding out there, or we don't have enough funding really to make an impact with landowners, startups, or industry. Let's put all our focus on workforce development. That's what we'll do. But we do want to have that conversation here to give us the direction to move forward.
Okay.
But Jennifer, that was a great segue.
I understand what you're talking about, and I wasn't trying to move away from it. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't, and I did have to take a phone call for like 2 minutes in between. So I want to make sure
that there
was a program that was brought forward, was there anything in the landowner startups and industry category that we were indeed talking about? And no, we are not, right? We're just rehashing what we rehashed last time, that we should bring forward ideas.
There was one idea that one of our members wanted me to bring forward to talk about, and this is relative to mass timber and the fact that we have certain wood species that are not graded to go into mass timber at this point in time, in particular, white pine, Norway spruce, red pine, maybe some others. And I don't know the answer to this, but what would it take for somebody, the offer was out at ESF or Cornell, to come up with the grading for white pine to go into mass timber? Who do we have to take it to? Do we gotta go to the Northeast Lumber Manufacturers Association and present them with the engineering data saying grade this wood to be certified to go into mass timber construction? I don't know, Bill.
Yeah.
I don't know you may know it better than I do.
Yeah, I don't know that white pine is not in there. It's just nobody saws it as a structure application. I don't know that white pine isn't.
My understanding is it is not in the, what do they call it,
The grade rule.
SPF Southern standard that can be used. But certainly I know Norway spruce.
Oh, yeah, it's not part of SPF. No, that.
But that's the standard everybody uses.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make mass timber.
the P and SPF are hard pines, jack pine,
Okay, well, I don't
and
know.
red pine.
I don't know, but why
But,
is that a stumbling block for our wood stock to get into mass timber? And look at the species and do we need that? And even if we did, is that enough to leverage the use of our wood in our feedstock?
Right.
Or is that premature to do that? And I would ask that question to those that are more knowledgeable.
I'm sorry, John, you would ask that question of who?
Those that are more knowledgeable of what does it take to get those species graded to be used in mass timber?
Bill Smith, do you have a take on that?
Yeah, I mean, Norway spruce was done like 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
So it's done.
So why do we continue to see?
Red pine and Norway spruce are there.
Okay.
Um,
So is there a reason they're not being used to make mass timber then?
Yeah, it's a chicken and an egg. Mass timber requires material to be glued up.
Okay.
And so you need to have a manufacturer that glues it.
Okay.
Not here.
Element 5 in Toronto glues it.
I'm sorry?
Element 5 in.
Yeah,
Toronto
Element
glues
5
it.
works.
Whatchamacallit, Unadilla glues it.
Yeah.
They only use southern yellow pine.
Well, Unilam is, beams, parallel, not the mass, not the panels. But
Is
yeah.
there anybody
Element-
else in the Northeast Canada market that glues up that isn't using our species that could? Well, what's stopping us? So what's the work that needs to be done for our species
What
to get in the supply chain?
in my opinion, the current stop is, there's two things. The main thing is a manufacturer that wants to start making mass timber.
Okay.
Like Element 5. So Element 5, if you notice, Element 5 is grown big. And they're between Toronto and Detroit.
Yeah.
In southern Ontario corn country.
Yeah.
And so their primary supply is SPF in Ontario and 300 miles north.
And they said they'd come to New York and take any species we can give them.
Absolutely. And for example, the mill in northern New Hampshire that saw spruce wants Norway spruce from New York, but we can't ship it.
Why can't we?
Cost. The trucking cost, they tried, the folks up in New Hampshire tried rail.
Yeah.
All sorts of configurations to save, and it's just too far. I mean, they'll do it, but somebody has to do it for freight, which means the cost they'll pay in the summer
Okay.
is not high. So to me, the main thing we need is a manufacturer to make the product, like an Element 5.
So what do we need to do to attract somebody like that?
Easiest thing, and this is easier said than done, is to convince the folks at Unilam that you guys ought to be in panels and timbers.
So,
But Paul and I tried that, and they're kind of.
so if we wanted to say, let's develop that market, because it's an emerging market.
Yep.
What could this council do, if anything? potentially help do that.
Study.
And if it's not just Norway spruce, is it a white pine? Is it?
Well, here's the other issue is with the manufacturer, that now has the ability to ship product to New York City and Syracuse, whatever, which is exactly what you want, the manufacturer.
So we have legislators ready to say, we want to pass a bill that says we need embodied carbon, we want to use Woodstock in New York, and I'm saying, don't say that yet. It'll say maybe 10%, because if you said you needed Woodstock from wood in New York, we couldn't.
We couldn't do it, right? Right.
So I'm saying, oh, can you say the northeastern kids? You know, or 10% from New York, and I'll ship it to Element 5 and get it back, even though it's going to be cost prohibitive, and they could say they'd have it here. You know, no, the only way I'm gonna pass it is if I can say 60% or more from New York State. I'm like, you're blowing us out on the water, because nobody's gonna do it. Now, I also have mills that are ready to say, I'll set aside a day to cut softwood wood to go to somebody that's gonna glue it, to start it out, but I'm not gonna set aside a line, I'm not gonna build a mill.
Right.
But I might set aside a day if I know somebody's there to help glue it up for me.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And then sometimes there's things I absolutely know for sure, and I'm wrong, or I find.
But I'm just saying, you know, that's something that is an emerging market that we might be able to dance around, or seed money. That wouldn't be a huge expense to say, can we make this work? Or seed it and get it to start and demonstrate it. But before the legislature goes and passes a stupid bill, and then all of a sudden we fall flat on our face saying, well, we can't supply a project in New York City because we don't have the volume of wood that we want.
Right.
Out of New York-based products.
Yeah, one of the things that
And then
Paul
let's
was
get
chasing,
daylights out of it, and not every wood
a
supplier.
colleague I work closely with was chasing after, we think of mass timber most typically as these glued panels, right? But it also can be laminated,
Or it can be nailed,
and that's,
but those
right.
aren't certified. They gotta be demonstrated. So
The other job
probably
probably,
go to me in a marketplace that can meet it, and the contractor says, I want it tomorrow.
right, well, that's why, in my opinion, the correct answer is the plants have to be near the customer. That's where, for example, Element 5 built a plant close to Buffalo, Detroit, et cetera, Toronto.
You're saying they can ship it anywhere in the world?
Of course, yeah, but as opposed to building, you know, Maine has tried the Dickens for the past 10 years to get 3 plants, 2 for sure, next year. 10 years later, they still don't have a plant because the manufacturers don't see value added at the material source. Because the material that goes into mass timber is frankly commodity lumber. And that was my follow-up with if we have a mass timber manufacturer in southeastern New York, they might pick Connecticut or New Jersey or eastern Pennsylvania as a acceptable. They may not want to utilize New York timber. They may find that their business works better with Southern Pine or SPF because we haven't established mills that would manufacture dimension lumber from New York timber. That the
I
Norway.
agree. So then the answer you're giving me is New York shouldn't pursue that model, so let's go to the next thing we should pursue.
I don't like that. I like New York.
I guess.
Here's the problem. I love the supply chain from the forest to the finished product.
Yeah.
I love that story. It doesn't work in most, for people that are, we can sit around the table, a lot of us, a lot of you have real jobs, some of us, I work for the university. And my point is the folks that are manufacturing like that story, but it doesn't fly.
Sure.
You know,
So
particularly for a hardened furniture has their sawmill, have their forest, and they're hardened, go on, but if you toured the hardened furniture plant, and you see they're making a lot of cherry, and you look at the sawmill, they're sawing a lot of maple. And what's up with that? And you're getting cherry, where's it coming? Oh, it comes from Pennsylvania. And we're sawing the maple, we're selling it in the market, so it looks cool. Family, so.
I get it. So but what do we gotta do to say we're gonna do mass timber in New York? Is it that we just assemble the product there?
That's what I was gonna ask. If it's not you know, from the wood stock, is there some other benefit to promoting mass timber in New York, right? Like,
They want to
Exactly.
market, they want to build in our.
Right.
It's an
place.
excellent building material. It's got all kinds of attributes from a building perspective. To the extent that carbon sequestration is a good thing. Is it? From an earth perspective, if we sequester carbon that are southern pine trees that are produced as opposed to New York white pine, does it matter from an earth perspective? We're sequestering the carbon.
Agree, but that's not gonna
Um,
sell to the New York State. budget.
Folks,
Of carbon
folks, we're getting,
You do, yeah, yeah.
Wait, we're getting off track, I hear you, I
Yeah.
just wanted to answer that
Hey.
question.
folks,
Go
we're
ahead.
getting into the weeds here. We're getting into the weeds. Look, the question is it something we can afford? Is it something that's going to benefit our industry and meet with our mission? It's something we ought to consider. Perhaps a more formal proposal would be appropriate. But I think to sit around and debate this right now is not
Sure.
the
Agreed.
appropriate use of time.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you bringing it forth, John.
But again, then my question is, you want to hear that idea, what's the next one? In 30 seconds, we can say yay or nay to.
no.
So who's got the next idea?
So I
Good
had,
question.
can you
Go
guys
ahead,
hear me?
Tom.
Yeah, Tom, we got you now. Yep.
Oh, good. So I had put forth a question some months ago, some meetings ago about low-grade wood for firewood because Wegmans was selling Latvian wood, spruce as hardwood firewood. So, so we're looking at markets for low grade. That's been a big issue. Firewood is an obvious one. That's pretty prevalent out there. Firewood processors are relatively prevalent, but they don't all have a way to dry it. They don't all have, the kilns or the ovens to heat treat it. So, or maybe they don't have confidence in the market or they've been overlooked or whatever it might be. But Wegmans, as I said before, was selling Latvian firewood. So when I make a proposal like that, I make a proposal and I'm like, okay, where does it go from there? Because who does the legwork to follow up to see why Wegmans does what they do? And do we have firewood processors that might be able to follow up? And what do they need in order to close that gap so we can keep that business in New York?
Gap analysis.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Wegmans to say, why am I not being fired?
Yeah, because I mean, for example, Tops and Stewart's and some others sell Salamanca kiln dry firewood.
Firewood locally.
What's the company in Salamanca that kiln dries firewood?
Richard's logging does.
Yeah, there are several. In Syracuse, there's a
Well,
guy that.
Some of it comes from Pennsylvania in some of those outlet small stores too.
Yep.
And that doesn't help New York processors.
So in thinking someone, I think it was Ed that was mentioning the expertise in the room. And is there an approach where we generate a list of questions that we have? We're sort of fielding a couple of questions, this mass timber, firewood, actually generate that into an organized list.
Yeah.
And then use some of the, is it the university connections in the room, but to actually actively pursue some of those questions so that we can get to a place where we could generate an actual proposal with some brass tacks in it. Or at least fish out which of these problems or which of these questions are dead in the water, or which, maybe what's needed is a study of mass timber in New York State to figure out what it would actually take. Maybe same with the firewood question, and what we're funding is that roadmap or that understanding of the dynamics of firewood, which then we could then in a future round, make an investment on the back of actually having looked at the market, the pinch points and understanding where the kinds of sums we have to move could actually make the most impact. And in the process, you beat the grass a little bit and see what gets up.
So who at ESD knows Colleen Wegman?
Well,
Elizabeth.
ESD does not typically work with retail companies, so I don't have an established relationship with Wegmans.
So who worked with, who else regulates firewood? Who regulates, who regulates firewood?
Well, I
Somebody
think
must.
to a certain
Basic
degree,
pests
my
and diseases.
question is, to a certain degree, my question is a bit of a fundamental. How do we go from proposal or suggestion to action? How, I mean, it's a pretty simple, basic bit of research, you know, calling some firewood, getting some background, some firewood processors, somebody calling Wegmans. Who's actually responsible to make these things move forward?
It would seem to me that the proposal has to come out of the firewood producers or producer. We put the word out, I don't know if they have an association or not, but we put the word out to people, to a number of them and say, look, you know, we're willing to try to help you out here if you've got an idea on how to get your products onto Wegman shelves as opposed to something from Latvia or wherever.
Yeah.
What can we do to help you do this? And let them come up with it. It's not our job to go to bat for them.
I like the New York State maple producers. They actually have a symbol that they use on things that to promote the New York State maple syrup as opposed to Vermont or whatever. How about like a either a card or a symbol that they could put on their firewood that says New York State firewood, you know, something that simple.
We do explore that here. I
Right.
think one of the problems with is because it has to be a farm first in order to qualify for the grown and certified, but we can get into that later.
But I'm just saying, it might be that simple, like when they wrap the plastic on it, you slap a sticker on it, and then you say, what a quality product made right here at home, you know, and just use that market consciousness to, you know, keep things local.
Well, I think Tom's point though is getting to actually Wegmans to say, why are you buying wood from Latvia when you can get it from here? And here's your sources. Here's your sources. If we, you know, we're able to figure out who to work with that can identify the sources and then go to businesses that sell bagged up firewood and say, you know, you have the option to choose New York first.
Right.
And here's who you can turn to. You know, it's almost like the Taste New York program. It's
Right.
like as a you know, a tourism business or a you know, a
I think the
restaurant or
models are,
whatever, you
yeah.
have the option of using New York product first. And here's who you can.
Right, the bottom
So-
there is said, hey, how about New York? You
We
know?
can,
So does this
we can do
also
some
kind
research
of
into that.
come back to our list of businesses on our website that needs to be updated? But in their listing on the website, I mean, rather than having to delve so deep and click into their business and figure out what the heck they do and what everything they do service and provide, if there's a way to identify quickly for people to go, oh, okay, they're a sawmill, I can procure sawdust from them, I can procure firewood from them, you know. If when you're looking at the website and how to vet out the businesses that are on there, to make it a resource for like a Wegmans to go to and go, oh, I can buy New York firewood and here's the 10 that do it. You know,
Maybe icons that follow
Right.
the listing.
something simple.
My understanding, when the last directory was made, that's what it was.
Supposed to
Was
do,
a mailing to those individuals with a checkbox of
really,
items that they, or
services they provide and
Yes.
products.
products that they provide, and then that's how that got built out.
I mean, that could help answer some of these questions like Tom is saying. You know.
So kind of related, so we have still a climate smart commodities grant. Now it's advancing markets for producers. We've gone through lots of hoops and things with the federal government over the last year, but one of the things that's being worked on is with Syracuse University. They're working on market development stuff, and they have like a draft website that they're trying to connect like producers to retailers to others already like kind of at least partially developed. I could potentially make a connection between the council if that's interest and.
I have a meeting scheduled with them, but we'll do the same.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
Sounds like there's some crossover.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think again, just to bring it back around, we have some funding, not a lot of funding, but if there are gaps, then there are needs that we could help fill. Probably supporting existing initiatives and things that might need a little bit more funding, I think that's the place we really should be focusing on. There's been a lot of good discussion. Ed, do you want to move forward into talking
Yeah,
more about education outreach?
I actually
workforce
do.
development?
I just want to wrap up two things here. Now, John, your observations on the mass timber. Here's what we need. We need a proposal from somebody who has interest in this, and to tell us how much it would cost to do whatever it is they think we could or should be doing to help them, and we can evaluate whether that proposal is something we want to get involved with. Tom Giroux, I'll say the same thing to you. If there's people in the firewood industry that need our help, they should come to us with a proposal and an estimated cost on how much it would be and what the benefit would be, and we can evaluate it. That's the way this ought to work. All right, let's move on now to outreach, educational workforce development. We're a little behind here.
All right, thank you, Ed. And I think that was progress, whatever just happened. I feel much better about that. And I don't want to, there's two more slides. This next one is last meeting and this meeting, we have prioritized elements about education and workforce development. One of the things that I've learned, our agency has recently advanced a workforce development initiative, and I think it's helpful to define the difference between education. When is it education and when is it workforce development? Just to keep in keeping with maybe ag and markets. What they've done is created a wall where if you're exposed to something, that doesn't muster workforce development. Let's chalk that up as education. But if you can come away from that experience with a certification, qualification, something that would now make you eligible for a job, or something that would make you eligible for working on a piece of machinery, or eligible for that role or a different role. So that's one thing that, we can cover later, but I just wanted to bring that up. If anybody's got pushback on that idea, that's fine.
But I also want to say it doesn't diminish the importance of the education, the outreach, and the exposure.
It just puts it in different buckets, which I think, and that's really what these discussions are, is trying to clarify from the council's perspective what is and isn't. And we've done a lot of that today. This current slide 8, is really just a recap of some of the things that I've learned related to that. Namely, Woodsman's Field Days, right? So you're going to hear this again, but they basically faltered and they lost their forestry education seminars. I've been working with Tug Hill Tug Hill Commission, thank you. And it looks like they are still, the Woodsman's Field Day is interested in finding out if the council is willing to support them with the upcoming August seminars. But beyond that, and one of the glaring things that I think Scott can attest to too, is that over the years, a lot of their outreach material either has gotten damaged by a flood, or there's some circumstance where thousands of square feet of outreach has disappeared. Okay, understood. And their space is being compromised, right? So they don't have AV, they don't have a dedicated space, they don't have outreach materials. It doesn't function as a cooling station or a place to relax. Whoever wants to sit and learn about the education that's going on related to forestry, it's barely tolerable. So I think a site visit is going to be in order to do an assessment, but let's just quickly think. I think we are willing to help them target speakers for late August, right, related to forestry or wood products development, right? There's about 12 slots. If anybody has any ideas when the time comes, or if you want to tee somebody up, I would love to do that. So let's ask the question though, beyond helping them find people to just talk about and promote forestry education, do we as a council have any appetite for supporting them in a way, any way beyond that? We don't have to put a dollar value on it today, and we can say no. But, you know, we've looked at mechanisms at Ag and Markets because we do support county fairs. That becomes convoluted and it becomes off target, right? Because the Woodsman Field Days, although it takes place on the Oneida County Fairgrounds, it's a different thing. And we do not need to overcomplicate anything anymore. So I guess the question is, do we see ourselves supporting the Woodsman's Field Days to purchase AV equipment, to help them, I don't know, offset rents, to provide a dedicated location? Are we going to buy a cooler full of water as a rest area? Let's just have a few minute conversation about that, and then we can kind of move on.
Did they put in a proposal?
They have not. This is something that we conjured up after last year. There was kind of an emergency. And I realized that it wasn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
And it really isn't much. And, you know, I look around, I mean, my comeuppance in which ultimately led me to, you know, graduate degree in forestry. It was a rich environment filled with trifolds and outreach and education and seminars. I remember all those things, right? And I challenge anybody to find that again. And if you're going to say it's the Woodsman's Field Day, go and try to learn something there, right? It's impossible. So we have an opportunity to advance some of these things. Does anybody want to, do we feel that we want to dedicate funds or time to supporting them beyond finding speakers?
I think if you're gonna do that, then you also gotta give a comparable consideration to doing it at the farm show. Because I'll say this, the farm show's gonna be what, next week? 2 weeks? They get 10 times the number of people interested in participating in a forestry lecture over a similar time frame than they do at Boonville.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's where all
you're
your
gonna do one
landowners
or the other.
are.
Well, and I'd also like to challenge, I think, more generally,
So,
right?
you
Like,
know, think about
right.
that, and then think about where else might we do it.
Exactly.
I agree with you, county fairs, that's a big circuit.
Mm-hmm.
State fair would be nice, but the state fair asks you to do a 2-week commitment, you know, and I'm not diminishing that. But that's a bigger commitment. Now you're gonna do a series of lectures, and I don't know that state fair accommodates lectures. They want an exhibit. Which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing if we could do an exhibit over 2 weeks, but that's a little beyond our capacity at the moment right now.
John, can think of,
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
I was
Bill.
just gonna say, the DEC has an exhibit at the state fair, right?
Yeah.
They used to enjoy that cabin.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Are there
Yeah,
opportunities to
There's
potentially?
opportunities to
Partner
participate,
with them
but both. Boonville tries to do this lecture series. It used to be sponsored by the timber group. I forget the name of it. Walt Freebold did it for years. Then,
Timber Producers Association.
Timber Producers Association did it, then Morrisville College did it, and they dumped it on Katie Malinowski at the Tug Hill Commission last year. She tried to pull it together and it didn't. You're right, they do it at a terrible venue back in the back of the CJ Logging exhibit. CJ Logging pays a lot of money for that exhibit, but sets aside, it's a bad place, noisy, hard to do a lecture. You don't get many people to participate in it. Boonville also is losing a lot of loggers. It's becoming your weekend warrior lawn garden show as opposed to as big of one. You can talk to some of the industry people. It's just becoming a big, and there's a lot of discussion happening behind the scenes of, do we need to deal with the whole structure of Woodsman's Field Days and try to shift it back to a timber, forestry, logging venue as opposed to where the direction.
Sounds a lot like Empire Farm Days, what happened there.
Yes.
And then now it's not moving forward anymore, right?
Yeah, but then you got the farm show is also the big, huge event, and there's a lot of more timber going on there.
Mhm.
And they now have this series of lectures that's been run by NIFOA. Some other folks are picking up on it now because Hugh Canham's just not capable of running it anymore, but it has been nice venue. It's changing this year. I don't know where the new lecture series is gonna be, going out there in 2 weeks. I always do an update on legislative stuff that's happening, but similar thing, they try to do lectures over 2 days. They usually get a way bigger crowd than Blue Dog gets, but it is a separate room, separate series of lectures.
And they get an agenda out much earlier.
Much earlier when
Than
the
would
topics
be
are gonna be and try to get people there. So I think if you're gonna do them, do both, participate. Biggest thing you can do is do the lectures.
Yeah.
Then if you want to get into how do you participate in, I think Ag Markets has got an exhibit for the farm show. DC's got an exhibit at the Boonville Woodsman Field Days. I don't know if Ag Markets has ever gone to Woodsman Field Days. We're there, a lot of industry reps are at Woodsman's. Some industry reps are at the farm show. It's give or take a few more maybe. Certainly it's way more active.
So do you know if historically there's been supported financially or?
No.
Okay.
The big thing at the farm show is we've had a nice room and they wanted to use that room for other stuff and we didn't. And it always took a lift from the second floor to say, no, you're gonna give this lecture and I thought this free room. We're moving around. So.
Well,
But either way, that's been a fair thing, the fair's always desperate. They want to.
Just a question, comment, some other states, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Mississippi, have set something up kind of like this, but a trailer.
A Woodmobile is.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, something.
Yeah, that you have like run with pickup truck, gooseneck, whatever, which is kind of what we're talking about, but also
branding.
but different companies would chip in this, kind of like your office, John, where different people chipped in and different things, where you would have bowling pins and maple syrup,
Sure,
some-
you
a
do one
bundle of
product
firewood,
promotion.
some finished furniture, a barrel, that somebody would put together a nice design for this trailer that would go to these places.
It's tough. It's a tough circuit. You gotta keep it current. It's expensive.
That's why
Do not
my question.
underestimate the fact.
Okay, we actually have a maple trailer
Okay.
that travels around New York State, and just last December, we hired an educator to actually run this and take it to the schools. So there's models for this out there. They take it to the fair. It sets out at the state fair right outside of where the maple booth is.
Yep.
And same thing, they put, like all the equipment in there and show how it happens. They run a movie. So it's they said, I think I had the paperwork. I think they're paying them $60,000 a year. So
Plus expenses.
to run that, right? But
You're paying a fee.
but this is the first year that they actually hired a person to do that. Before that, the producers would kind of like take turns, occupying this in certain areas of the state. So, and
You almost have to have a pickup that's dedicated to pulling it.
yep, they gotta pick up
Who's
and
got a truck this week?
Yep.
So it's costly, but I
right.
think other states have done it and they seem to I haven't had a lot of direct contact to be.
We got a guy that's promoting and take a mass timber trailer on it. Demonstrate mass.
I thought I had heard that Pennsylvania discontinued the Woodmobile, am I? Does
The
anybody know
Northern
that?
Forest Center did that. The Northern Forest Center had a Woodmobile and they discontinued it.
So is Ag and Markets at, or have they been at Boonville?
I don't think Ag Markets is.
I think I've presented once, maybe twice.
Yeah,
in my
you
capacity,
presented, but they don't have an
not-
exhibit.
Correct, and we also have invasive species that go routinely, but there's not an exhibit.
Yeah.
Yep.
The DEC has a big presence.
And do they have a desire to be there? Because is there a way to, this council's under,
That's
So
one of the
it's like-
questions.
right? Do they have a desire to be there? How can the council, how can it be a collaborative theme so that it's not?
They can talk to DEC and even share their tent, and help each agency.
Yeah, I like the idea of cooperating with DEC, piggybacking with them, at least initially, hang our own banner next to theirs or what have you. County fairs, I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, Erie County Fair, we get 1 million people here.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that sort of thing and you want lecturers or guest speakers that are going to be, the quality that you're looking for and they're non-government employees, then compensation might help. And that could be part of that funding stream as far as
Exactly.
gas, food,
Yep.
so,
Exactly.
and potentially lodging if depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Jeff, could you put together a proposed budget for cost on attending, let's say, a dozen county fairs and other venues throughout a year time? What materials would cost, what a banner would cost, time for people, remuneration for people who are speaking, and have that for the next meeting?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think
appreciate
that's
that.
exactly what we're looking for too, right? Because, we use these examples of Woodman's Field Days or other venues, but really what we're talking about is getting exhibit ready, right?
Yeah.
Go there as an exhibitor.
If you're gonna do something on the Wood Products Development Council, you gotta buy an exhibit.
That's where you start.
Right.
Exactly. And then you start, seeking out those venues and the partnerships with DEC and even with other divisions within this agency. Yeah.
Excellent.
And then also put together some, what it might take, we can underwrite some of those presentations, those centers, those
Are you
non-government.
guys at the farm show?
The one, 2 weeks?
2 weeks?
Yeah. I mean, not our division.
No,
So-
like markets.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, where is it?
What?
Syracuse Fairgrounds.
Oh, it's at the
Big
fairgrounds?
fairground.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah.
That's a separately run one, like Boonville. It's a
Yeah.
privately run
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, no, that one is.
We've made award announcements there in the past. Certainly it's a.
All right, do we have enough direction on this, on the outreach right now?
I think so.
All right.
The only-
It
But if you have
seems
that
like
like
it,
forestry awareness
If
day-
I could make one quick comment, if we're gonna wait till June to decide anything on this, that's gonna put a pretty tight timetable to do something for Boonville this year.
So that brings me to another point that I want to make, because I'm used to, meeting monthly with the State Soil and Water Committee, and we're quarterly here. So we can get information out to you all via email. We can seek feedback. This is not
You
a
make-
public entity where we can do that. We're opening up these meetings to the public as a good best practice, but we don't have to wait till meetings to make decions. So if we
fair enough.
have
Fair
proposals
enough.
and we
Jeff,
need to act on something, we'll do it. Yeah.
Can we do something within 30 days and then just get it out via email to the membership for consideration?
I think we can. Sure, I can focus on that. I want to give Bill a final thought, but I had Forestry Awareness Days down there to remind everybody who's not familiar with it. It's on Tuesday, March 10th. We don't have a logo or any.
No,
type of
no,
branding
we
available.
don't have the well this year, so
Yeah.
in terms of trying to get people to fill the well,
Okay,
it's not an issue. This
okay.
year we're not able to get the well.
Very good. And Bill, did you have one more thing?
Yeah, just a quick one with the education, what have you. And we've kind of bounced on this, but who is the audience? Is the audience timber owners that would then be more likely to put their sustainably managed timber on the market? Is the audience the 2 or 3 people that might build a mass timber?
That is the
Plan?
$64 million question. So what ends up being is the people who are attending the fair
Right.
on that day. Some exhibitors that are there will come and sit through some of these sessions. So you have people that are representing the industry, that are representing suppliers in the industry. So, we did a topic last year on markets, and we had a whole bunch. I had the largest crowd of 8 people. And that was the largest over 2 days of lectures. And then most of it were some vendors that were like, hey, we're interested to hear what you got to say about markets. And we did some on marketing, and so I had like 5 people that were representing some of the vendors that were there, 3 people that just came up.
Right, but if we worked and were successful on those 3 people to build 2 mass timber plants and 3 sawmills and farm waste fruits, and we connected with those 5 hypothetical people, we'd be super happy.
Yeah.
If we're looking for general education and we contact with 300 private landowners who put their timber on the market, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
Right, so there's different audiences and different directions to each of these good outcomes.
Yeah.
And one target at the fair where you have a broad, which is great, but you may not find those. So I think all of these are important outcomes that may require shotgun approach to some, rifle approach to others. But I think it's good to keep these all on the table. And again, the opposite direction is, some of you probably heard a few weeks back, in Wayland, New York, the gun lot plant is closing.
Right.
And that's, a couple hundred people because, they got bought by the big company H and they consolidated. And so as much as we want to develop manufacturing, we also want to avoid people not manufacturing. A couple of years back, what was it, Catskill Craftsman that shut down, which is, again, they use they'll use almost entirely New York forest products. And, forget the name of the town. In the Catskills. Walton, that's it. Yep. And so we want to try to avoid those things. So in terms of development. Good.
All right,
We're all
this seems
set,
like
I
a good
think.
time to, transition to the next topic, which is needs assessment for education and outreach materials. Jeff, or do you think we've
No, we
given
did.
you enough to go on?
Agency updates.
Okay,
Before we do that, I
agency
just want to
update.
ask a question though, going back to workforce development very quickly. There was that forestry camp that occurred prior to COVID, about 2019. Does anybody have any intel on that, how impactful that was? It was for high school kids up in Oswegatchie. It's a past project that we still have on our website. And if there was any interest in maybe trying to explore an opportunity to do something big like that again.
That was at Wanakina, wasn't it?
No, if it was in Franklin County, that wouldn't have been one.
It was Oswegatchie. Yeah.
I think that was what's the big summer camp in Oswegatchie, isn't that?
Camp.
It was like a 3-week program, right, that the young people went up and learned about logging?
Yep.
Is that the one?
Yep.
Yeah, that was,
That's
no, I'm forgetting the name of it. I think it's Cornell.
Oh.
Cornell project.
I think we actually funded them partially.
We did.
We did, yeah, and that was, it flashed very quickly when Tim was giving a website update. I wanted to keep that up there because I thought that was something that we might want to explore doing again.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking when you guys were talking, why don't like a rodeo and have like high school kids learn to drive things and like set up different things so they can win prizes, and that kind of thing is very, like, it sets a spark in them. Want
Yeah.
to do it again next year, and you want that spark.
When I read about that project, that's kind of what I was thinking. right?
Yeah.
It's a spark. It might not be a direct certification or, equip somebody for, but it's.
It's a spark.
It's
And
spark.
we keep trying to build a fire. You gotta start with a spark somewhere.
That's right.
Well, the first,
Just on that camp thing, you might want to talk about, this would be getting back to ESF, is they have the Timbuktu project that's been very successful. And how might we get wood product integrated into some of that? And, Fiona's got
Yeah,
connections,
we
they
talked
can
about
do it
that.
on the city, they've been trying to talk about they have a huge project. I know they're doing some forestry related outreach on the property because they're at Newcomb and they go out and show them things that are happening there. So I'm pretty certain they must show them some timber harvesting. But I don't know if they've integrated anything in there that there are products being made. And that might be something to talk to Paul Hay and those folks that are designing the curriculum there. To say, is there room in the curriculum to make sure we do talk about wood products and carbon storage and how that occurs in the urban environment? You guys just highlighted a project. I don't know if you funded it, but that whole sawmill in the city that took some products. But that idea of letting people introduce that these are products made in New York.
Yeah.
And you can even see it, because they focus particularly in New York City of bringing students up. Their next bridge is to bring city from other urban environments to New York.
Yeah.
But it's that idea of trying to teach them about the environment,
Yep.
climate change, about careers.
Yep.
And yes, they're doing environmental careers, but there are careers in the wood product sector. That
Yeah, connecting those dots, yeah, and that's.
we should probably have a conversation with them about saying, you're there and they're surrounded by. Newcomb has how many thousands of acres of GMO land surrounding them, but they are surrounded by working forests.
Yeah.
And as well as forest. But a
Let-
lot of working forests right around them.
I talked to Paul, but hey, but there was a teacher's tour one time up there, and it's easy to do Ticonderoga, in particular Ward Lumber and Jay, because they go up to the John Brown
Even
place.
if they did an offsite visit would be great, but just, to even onsite, bring somebody in and say, the wood that gets harvested does get used for something.
That's important, yeah. So Wood Products Development Council Forestry Camp was what I was referring to in 2019. In Timbuktu, we'll look into both of these things and bring a little bit more, flesh on the bone for the council to consider. And we'll send information and some ideas via email before the next meeting.
Because the other thing they're doing up there with those same harvests is showing the wildlife benefits. Huge wildlife restoration benefits that are happening.
Yeah, it's great.
As a result of harvesting timber.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. This is
All right,
progress.
agency and part.
A lot of brainstorming.
Agency and partner updates.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, well, we really don't, our, nothing new from our plant industry, and otherwise, you've heard pretty much what is relevant from us at Ag Market, so we move on to DC.
We've had probably two things really that are new or fresh. Revisions to the regulations to the forest tax law program. They are out. We are going around for pretty much the next month and a half, going to different regions, setting up presentations to the consultants to explain what the new regulations are. It's a requirement for them to attend. So we have 7, I believe, set up across the state right now. We plan on doing a landowner workshop for tax law landowners, just the general public. We're working with Cornell on that. We're going to go through the Forest Connect series. Pete has offered us an avenue to use his platform. Secondary is we've gone out with Regenerate New York. We're taking projects in right now that went out with a little over $5 million for projects geared towards forest regeneration, afforestation, reforestation, deer fencing. We're neck deep into that right now. Anything else that
Should I talk about AMP now?
Yeah.
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 Since it's
All right. I already touched on it a little bit earlier too. So we have $60 million from the USDA through Advancing Markets for Producers. And that's with partners. We're working with SUNY ESF and Cornell University. We're working on some carbon modeling analysis, trying to figure out the benefits of different forestry practices for carbon. And they're also looking at barriers for different landowners. And we're working with Syracuse University, who's working on forest product market development and trying to connect producers like we talked about. They've got a website that they have drafted. And we originally got this grant, I think in 2023, but there's been some hurdles and bumps in the road since then. So we just got our contract amendment again to continue work December 4th. So we're getting back into it. And one of the things that we have to do with our contract amendment we have to now give $46 million directly to producers through grants through our department. So we've got a lot of money that will be coming out hopefully soon. And we've got like 3 different programs. One's for nurseries. It's the tree discount program where we're going to be giving discounts, or we're going to, I guess, reimburse nurseries for discounts for selling tree seedlings at a lower price, as well as put like a little incentive on top of there. And we've got 2 programs that we want to engage like industries and landowners, like anybody who can apply really, to increase their capacity. One of those is for like nurseries and like seed collectors, you know, it's kind of the tree production side things, and the other is for like forest product markets. And that one is kind of wide open. So it's a lot of different producers, I think, could potentially maybe hopping back overall for these grants, overall applicants have to be enrolled or be able to enroll with the U.S. Farm Service Agency. So they have to enroll, they have to own like some amount of land. I think our requirement is to have at least an acre of land that is forested or could become forest right now for those capacity grants.
What was that? Enroll in the what?
The Farm Service Agency.
FSA registration.
Yeah.
So a manufacturer like a Steinway piano or a Stickley furniture that's manufacturing wood products, if they don't own an acre of farm timberland, they could not participate.
Yeah, and that. Yeah, and that's.
But what about somebody like Dutchess Lumber who owns forest land?
They absolutely could.
What do they have to do? Invest in the land and like increase tree production? Or could they invest in mill production?
So for that program, I think they could do either. So the funding does not have to be spent specifically on like the land itself even. So we're thinking
increasing the commodity.
A commodity.
Do you have anything written up on this?
Yes, my computer died like 10 minutes into this meeting, which is
Can you
insane.
share?
Speaking of that,
Oh, no, you're not.
Yeah,
you're
it's
not
a
rolling
little
out
bit,
yet.
yeah.
When the Trump administration
Well, when you're ready to share,
revamped the
can you
program,
let us
they
know? We
changed
could
the
do a
rules and
Zoom
everybody had to redo
briefing
their
on it.
budgets. And then
It's
the
very
fixed chunk of the
complicated.
budget
Very
has to be
complicated.
reflected
It's not
in
a lot.
I know.
landowners.
We
I
can
know.
keep talking about it though.
To-
Absolutely.
To break through some of the chatter that we can't follow, could we get a summary of that grant?
Of the grant, yeah, I think we could get a summary of like what we applied for.
Well,
Or
can you
what
give us a copy of
programs
the
would be
grant?
applicable to?
Well, the advancing markets for producers, I've looked for a website for USD, they don't have
I
one.
know, I tried to find it.
So
too.
like, it's weird.
This is all sub rosa because it's the new it's a way to conform an old grant and spend the money into a new model that aligns with the current administration. And then trying not to highlight it because they're just trying to spend the money.
Sure.
And it was from a special pocket of old money that they're just really
But
trying
they
to
couldn't get
finish
rid of it,
out.
so now they have to get rid of it.
Well, it was awarded as the Climate Smart Commodities
No, I
Program,
know,
which was
I
a
know.
$3 billion program, and then the money had already been committed and signed, and so
But they
rather
Either
than
way,
when-
pulled it back,
let's-
but we got
it
it.
was all the land.
Yeah.
We had a $20 million that.
No longer.
Please.
There, it was a complicated.
No,
so it's
we got
like
one.
situation running like we're-
Well, this is
Folks,
really
there's a lot of
complicated.
crosstalk happening here. It's hard for us on the
Sorry.
outside to follow.
All right, yep, sorry. Go ahead, keep going.
Okay, so for that like expanded markets sort of option, some of the things we were thinking that, so for these applications, we're hoping that producers give us their idea kind of what they could increase, and that will be worked into the work plan. So we can't pay for practices, technically can't pay for like equipment and infrastructure, But like the way USDA has talked about it, the way that producers spend these payment incentives, like we don't necessarily like have control over that or like need to be involved with that as much. Like, so we will be paying for outputs, which is weird. So like if like we could pay for an increase in like maple syrup production by a number of pounds or a number of taps, and the producer has to tell us like approximately how much they're going to invest in maybe like staff, but there will be like another potential option of like capital investments that might be able to include things like supplies and equipment and that sort of thing, and that should be okay with the grant. So it's just like trying to figure out how to, I guess, like, yeah, understand like what sort of costs are needed to get to an output. And once that output is reached, we would give however much they propose to us to that producer. Unfortunately, all this money has to be spent by January 2028-ish by the producers. So it's going to be like a year-long program. So it's going to be like, you got to spend money fast and somehow increase some measure of production quickly.
You have to actually increase production, document.
Or increase capacity. So some things we were thinking about was like seedling production, maple syrup production, board feed process, nuts or seeds collected, trainings, workshops, educational materials.
So just as a hypothetical,
Yeah.
board feet of hardwood lumber produced is almost worthless if it hasn't been kiln dried properly.
Sure.
Okay. And there are companies that have kilns that could use updated control systems that cost X. And so they've got a huge CapEx cost, and it's multiple companies around that can help them do a better job of producing the same quantity.
Yeah.
That's there. So they may not increase production, but they're increasing the quality of production.
I think that would be.
Or maintain.
But she said you also gotta be cautious, sometimes the equipment costs. Some equipment costs are eligible, some aren't.
Yeah.
That's why.
Paying for the outcome, right?
So it sounds like we need a brief.
Yeah.
So the outcome,
If
it might have to be an increase in outcome.
to reach whatever that outcome is.
Yep.
If it includes potentially some equipment
Then it could be.
acquisition, like
Or
you can do that, just like we're only focusing on what the outcome is.
You know what I'm
It could
thinking
be
is
board
a lot of
feet dried.
optimization.
Yeah, scanners and so on.
Stuff like that, you could increase production.
Amount of time for drying, like stuff like, I think that's.
Yeah. There's ways to quantify all the, as John said, scanners that you kind of, I mean, the reality is Dutchess, Wagner, Bailey are kind of at the top of their game compared to mills
A
elsewhere
lot
in the
of
country.
smaller mills, medium,
Are.
small mills could do tremendous amount of this.
Yeah,
If
there's
they
others
have the
that-
land.
They might have to own land.
Yeah, have to own land.
Some of them own land,
Yes.
but
They have
that's
to.
a way, as the hardwood market overall is dropping nationally.
Yeah.
But there's mills in New York State that are hanging in there and doing okay.
And what do they
Because
need,
they-
what do they need to do even better? That goes back to the conversation we had a couple hours ago, but it's very poignant here
Yes,
too.
and those are things that if there's a match requirement, there's where our money can play a hand.
We do not have a match requirement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the total reimbursement.
But Molly, because there's a
It is
limited amount of time with this program, you're gonna learn a lot.
Sure are.
And you might not be able to fund everything because of the time frame, but we're gonna be able to use that to figure out what else can we do into the future with state funds.
True.
I
Yeah,
think this is great.
and if it works,
I mean, going back to the conversation we had a couple hours ago, like that's the kind of gap analysis we need.
Well, and my question was, are these fully reimbursable? Like the company has to spend the money and then get reimbursed? Because that's a barrier for
It's a barrier for
companies.
small companies.
Right.
They are
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
reimbursables.
yeah,
Yes.
we do have to reach the output before they get the money. There will be an enrollment fund. So as soon as you enter like a contract executed with us and also like enroll with FSA, we will be providing an incentive. I'm not sure what that incentive
Like what
is or
percentage of
needs
the
to
grant
be.
is or something, yeah.
Oh, yeah, percentage of.
Yeah.
Go man.
So Molly, can you
Yeah.
tell us when that is available and who might be, are there regional points of contact or is there would an applicant have access to a program manager to help them navigate and not, face something that at the end of the day is ineligible? I mean, would, for example, are FSA or NRCS staff able to answer questions about that, or is this gonna come directly through your
So
office?
FSA staff and NRCS staff would be able to answer questions about like FSA eligibility
The enrollment.
and enrollment.
Right, so this
We
is,
will be answering questions about.
is it an RFA?
It is an RFA.
Okay, that's good. And is it open yet?
No, we're thinking like late spring, early summer, I hope,
Okay.
but we're still writing the draft, so
Oh.
it's flexible.
And you'll allow us to help you get the word out,
Please.
of course,
Yes.
through the wood products, but also Saltwater District Network and
And then, I mean, the whole thing about being reimbursable is a huge barrier.
it is.
So it's like, is there an opportunity, are there, like if somebody says, okay, this is my project, this is how I'm gonna, increase my outputs and it's gonna cost me X.
Mhm.
If they don't have that cash flow to do it, it's like, where are the resources? Is there a way to identify, institutions that work with the industry to understand the investment, and then to know that, okay, I get this done and reach these outputs, I get this money and I can pay back the bridge
There could
loan
be
or
something
whatever
like
it
Farm
is.
Credit East.
Right. to
Farm Credit
develop
East, even FSA.
Mm.
Because they deal with those things, but Farm Credit East might be somebody that. would
To
be
educate
able to-
industry that, okay, we understand it's difficult, this is fully reimbursable. But we've got a relationship over here, go talk.
Like a bridge.
Exactly.
Farm Credit East might be interested in something like
Yeah.
that, but then
Yeah.
again, there's a risk. You're gonna get-
I know.
I have a question about this. If say you're in the industry and you're already working on that project, and so you're gonna build this and you're gonna do that because you want more output. Can they apply for that at this point if they've already started the project?
It's probably gonna be determined by FSA, if you're FSA eligible.
Oh, okay.
I think we're only paying for outputs, but the contract time will be like whenever we're able to execute the contract. So that would be like later this year. Like, we're not gonna be able to back pay for
No,
one.
we're in the middle of it. They're already doing it. That's what I'm saying. That might stop that barrier a little bit. And then they get like a refund for doing what you were hoping somebody would do. That's how I'm looking at that.
Molly, could you consider a look back period, basically, kind of what Kathy's talking about, or no? Like,
I would have to talk to our
Yeah.
contract staff about that.
yeah,
But maybe I can talk about it.
because really, I mean, you might be looking at those kinds of projects that are already initiated, but yet need that assistance to get over the hump and
Right, and help.
beat that output.
Well, and free up to do other stuff. Yeah.
Yep,
Because
the contract timeframe is gonna be short enough
Oh my
between
God.
now and 2028, so. Okay,
Sure is.
yeah.
I guess other ideas for outputs is like increase in networking, maybe an increase in capacity for like reforestation or like acres harvested. Like, we can't pay for the acres harvested, but if they're increasing the capacity to harvest more acres overall as an operation. Planning options, like market development, new products, new markets. So it's a pretty wide range. I mean, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like including but not limited to. So like if there's other ideas out there, it can still apply.
Well, when you guys are ready to do a Zoom meeting presentation or something, we'd be happy to organize some of it.
Okay, yeah. See, let me make sure. Okay, all the funds have to target like within New York State. So that gets a little bit weird when you talk about things like networking. the network can only include New York producers. So I guess keep that in mind too. And, oh yeah, so the breakdown that we're thinking right now is we have like about $4 million set aside for a program we released in 2024 called Establishing Large Forests that we want to try to get back to those landowners and see if they're still interested in part of the project. Right now, we're thinking like $20 million for the tree discount program, maybe $22 million for the growing reforestation opportunity, which is capacity for like nurseries and like tree production, and 5.7 million for tree-based market reimbursement. But we also don't have any idea at all what the demand might be out there for any of this, because we haven't had time to really talk to producers. So if anybody has thoughts on what the demand might be for funding, I'm interested. Yeah, so we're thinking that a lot of these will be larger applications, like $50,000 or more.
We're hoping for multi-million dollar applications or more.
I'm hoping more.
Depending, again, a lot's gonna depend on what you're
Specs
eligible. I mean, some of these could
Yeah.
be.
I hope so,
If
because
we
we
were
don't have.
talking about automation, I mean, I can tell you some of these things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I will move that as well. Where to put the
The
cash?
Scanners and such.
So the output has to be done by the end of the,
I think you gotta be able to
Right.
say what the output's gonna be, and I can't believe they're gonna say, oh, you could probably say I'm gonna increase my, say, board foot production by, but you can't say I'm gonna have 300 million board feet
Okay.
stacked in a pile
Mhm.
like that.
Right.
But my capacity to produce it is gonna be ready.
is ready to go. Yeah, got it.
You know, you might say, I'll be able to produce another 500 barrels,
Mhm.
but am I gonna have 500 barrels standing in a warehouse?
Yeah.
So Molly, are you still open to suggestions? I mean, is that,
Yeah.
okay, so we'll make sure that we broadcast your email to council members. I don't know how they should, it's gonna be too difficult to coordinate any information from the council through us, but I have a feeling
Yeah.
this is some good news and maybe people can help you just with the jargon, right, or whatever. So if you're open to that, we'll definitely share your contact and point them to you.
Any larger kind of, scale information that you could provide now would be helpful. I know that as you're developing programs, there's only so much that you can divulge, right, until the RFA is released, but.
Yeah, we're exploring if we can expand that for this opportunity and
Yeah.
actually get the word out there, before we
Important.
release it.
Yeah.
Because how are people going to know to get ready for it?
Right.
Yeah.
But at least we can talk about it at meetings, so. Alright.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Tom Giroux echoes that. A summary of this all would be very key, instrumental. Tom, I'm helping you out there with the chat. Thank you for putting so much in.
Next up, economic development.
Allison, are you still with us?
I believe Allison left.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay. We'll ask her if she has a report that we can append to the minutes. Get information out to you that way.
Same would go from Cornell Cows. We don't have anyone from them.
Okay.
ESF.
Yeah, where do we start? The Caffrey and the Syracuse University one we were just talking about, I know little about other than just football. So that's part of some aspect that ESF is doing. Another aspect of ESF that's frankly just kind of ugly is the budget and the frustrations, and John's quite fortunately played with that. Where, you know, the focus has been from SUNY on faculty being directly related to teaching, which is fantastic. But there's been a history of folks that actually have outreach activity, outreach responsibilities. For one, there have been others in the past that SUNY is not saying that's a priority. And the campus has got to count heads. If the campus says it's a priority and they count heads, but the campus is working tightly to count heads very closely. And so I'm not sure where that ends up. When, you know, people retire and how they get replaced and what's going on. Other campuses are the same boat. The Morrisville Tech program, Wood Tech program, I think it was a year ago, shut down. It was just deactivated is the polite word they say. And that was kind of not so much hands-on, but the point is the 2-year program, they got folks kind of directly into the industry, and the Syracuse programs are, you know, more at the graduate level, undergraduate level. And so, yeah, I'm not sure where that
Do
goes.
we know if that's like being not replaced, but I mean, is that happening anywhere else in any of the community colleges or 2-year?
Couple others around, other universities around the country have had the same sort of thing. They're focusing on headcount and tuition.
No, I'm asking in New York State, like, is there Hudson Valley Community College or Genesee Community? Is there anywhere else that could replace what's lost with the Morrisville?
Good question. Morrisville had a very nice infrastructure in the laboratory facilities, which in my view should have really been a help with the program. It'd be hard for somebody else to start something. Jamestown Community College some years back, with, you know, the couples that have tried that, with, I'm not sure, a lot of success.
And did Morrisville make that decision, or was that a larger SUNY?
I think it was on site.
Okay.
My only speculation, it was on site based upon SUNY Central mothership saying numbers aren't looking good to us.
Did they have a sawmill and a kiln?
Oh, yeah, yeah, they had CNC machines, and they had slick operations in terms of workforce development. But I don't know the chancellor, but that doesn't seem to be where the chancellor is, I mean, if you ask the chancellor if workforce development is important, you'd say no doubt, yes. But the campus was getting the message, I believe, John, getting the message of numbers.
In terms of
From enrollment, numbers, enrollment, undergraduate instruction, number of students in class, et cetera, et cetera. And that's critical, that's important, no doubt.
I mean, our enrollment numbers in ESF are maintaining it.
Right.
So unlike the other 9 focused campuses, which have declining enrollments, that is a very positive sign. We're sustaining our graduate level of enrollment and maintaining our R2 status as a research institution. So all those things are playing out very well for ESF, but as with any other student campus, financial challenges are extremely strong. I mean, you freeze tuition for 17 years and offer incredibly generous free tuition to lots of in-state residents. It's a very difficult financial model to keep in mind, and particularly with a college like ESF, where you just have a limited capacity of the number of students that you can.
But it's those 2-year programs that are so important for workforce development, and they're being mothballed.
Well, and ESF, 4-year school, but.
Yeah.
So what happens to that infrastructure at Morrisville?
Bingo.
That's a good
Supposed
question.
to, you drop it down to where the kids are.
Right.
And then you say, well, you got a pool of kids, here they are.
And now
a
where
lot
do
of
I
things.
go? Those programs don't exist at the associate degree level because, you know, they pulled it, so.
Yeah.
you know.
Would the council be able to somehow facilitate a discussion to open up Morrisville's resources to BOCES? Or I don't even know how that works. I might be stepping on every toe there, but
Yeah,
that seems like that's now been idled indefinitely. And you know, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe we can, I don't know. I don't know.
Like lots of things, these programs hang in there when there's the college university, you don't want to lay anybody off. They don't want to fire, let go of tenured faculty. So a lot of these programs, quote unquote, hang in while there's active faculty. And when some of those faculty members age out.
Like they're the champions for it, right?
Yeah, but when they age out, they retire, they lose, then the replacements are tough in two ways. One, it's hard to replace the experience. You know, and the other thing is it's hard to replace the line, the people.
So is that, those facilities on their campus, is it, okay?
Are you
Yeah,
speaking of Morrisville?
Yeah.
They deactivated the wood technology program a year
Yes.
ago.
Mm.
And that was, months after, this is internal politics, but months after they had a program review that from outside people that contributed and said, it's a fantastic program, it's doing well, and then.
I mean, they're one of the 9 campuses.
But then maybe the industry might wanna throw in some, imagine that, if the individual industries in that region, I don't know. I mean, maybe we could play a role at some point if it.
I think the council can help with a lot of this, but it's kind of, John, you talked to Jody at ESF and the provost is going and the folks in Albany, and that's just kind of a communication, and sometimes as much as you want to help, and you have a good argument, it may not succeed.
Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about Morrisville, yes.
Right.
But no, there's only been one curriculum cut at ESF right now. That is in the Sustainable Resource Management Program on recycling. On which degree program was cut. That is it. So there's a huge effort not to cut programs. Right. That said, there is a voluntary severance personnel reduction that's ongoing right now. There's going to be some significant faculty reductions, getting our faculty to student ratio down to 2019 levels.
Yeah.
Tom Droz says Finger Lakes Community College has a forestry program as he understands it, Forest Tech. I mean,
They've got.
There's a lot of other programs that are attempting to try to fill voids. I don't know how the community colleges are surviving right now, because if you look at the things that they're doing, both at the local level and at the state level, offering free tuition, it's just everything's for free. I don't know how you keep the doors open.
Some of the community colleges like Paul Smith's, that used to be a 2-year program, have gone to a 4-year program.
Yeah.
Is one way they've kind of held things together. Of course, that kind of cannibalizes a market for some of the 4-year schools.
Yeah.
And so it's just, these are big picture things that,
The one demographic is to look at is what's the demographics of age groups entering the college age nationally. Domestic population entering college age is on a rapid decline. Even let alone choosing it. But it is on a massive decline. It will be down 40% by 2030 from what it was.
Which is something that, we could
Challenge.
capitalize on actually,
Yeah.
because you consider some of the trades and really marketing workforce development
Yes.
as a trade.
Yes.
That could align
Yes.
really
It
quickly.
does start to be, where are you gonna, you educate to?
And the BOCES also, like that tie-in, Wisconsin has a program where high school kids get college credit through the state university, so that when they go, they don't, they can graduate a little bit earlier, all in the wood products space. And, we see, New York seems like it has a framework for developing a program like that too, with BOCES, with the SUNY organization.
And don't overlook adult education and retraining. There are millions of people now trying to figure out a new career.
Yeah.
And will be for the next several years. not just high schoolers coming out. and
That's where the
college.
certificate programs are
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
prevailing. a
They're
lot,
looking
you know,
for-
Particularly online
Right.
certificates, if I can get skill.
I want to
In
say
in
too,
a relatively
Very
short
focused.
period of time and remarket myself, and reinvent myself.
Right.
That's huge.
From an education perspective, this is just me kind of yapping. SUNY and other universities have a structure. Certificates. What's the certificate mean? 3 credits, 6 credits, academic credits. For a number of years on campus, we ran a course on kiln drying lumber. And it was, well for like 19 years. Then COVID hit. And after COVID hit, we had issues on campus that we just couldn't get it restarted again. We offered a certificate. I just signed the certificate. They took the course, and it was good. It was a week, and they're around the country, but they're getting thin. And we've been running an association in New England, New York, New England Kiln Drying Association for 75 years. I'm not that old, but for 75 years now, and it's been basically a public service outreach activity on my part that the current folks on campus would probably say, really, you do that? Where Ross Whaley said, I'm glad you do it, in terms of the outreach to the industry. And that helps significantly in people doing a top rate job of drying lumber. Again, if it's not top rate, I mean, why is the hardwood market dropped by 75%? But in New York State, Bailey and Dutchess and Wagner doing kind of okay. And elsewhere, because they do a darn good job of processing and kiln drying.
The sticker.
Yeah, and so there are educational programs. Some of them, like the New England Kiln Drying, doesn't need financial help. We just do our thing, right? It's good. It's nice that.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does their thing, and there's those are out there. There used to be a Filers and Filer and Sawyers Association in New York State. A couple other regions, a couple of DPC guys were active keeping that show going until they retired, and then it kind of withered. Because filing saws is critical to quality.
One of the highest paid jobs in the mill.
I'm sorry.
One of the highest paid jobs in the mill.
Yeah, and so there are things out there. Some of them have been lost. Some of them we would like to try to bring back.
I wanted to say FFA is hot right now.
Yeah.
Future Farmers America are hot. They offer, I mean, we could even drop a program right in there, any of those programs
Yeah.
for like whatever these kids could
Yep.
do. And yeah, they're having a state convention in Buffalo in May.
Yep.
And that might be something that, that's a great place to start because those kids are eager. They're ready they're ready to go from high school to a job.
Well, anecdotally, people I've worked with directly, a lot of these mills throughout New York and elsewhere, they're kind of discriminatory who they like to hire based upon experience.
Mhm.
They like kids off the farm
Right, and plus they own.
because the kids on the farm, quote unquote, know how to work. They know what it means to be to work on time in the morning.
Yep.
If their muscles ache a little bit, it's like, but who cares? So,
Right,
They-
that's a good.
I
that's a
just
good
I just
place.
spoke at an FFA
that's excellent. I like that.
leadership event a week or so ago. And my focus was on natural resources, right? Conservation. And, it was just a flock of kids coming my
I
way.
know. I just.
So
wish
it
more
wouldn't,
people would.
right, so it would not be a stretch to really kind of, let's bring forestry into that.
Some of them don't like the idea of having to milk cows every day. in
Right,
their
oh, they're
family.
out of that.
And the idea that, I can get a job that's not too far away and
Yeah.
have a fantastic career in a cool area.
Maybe last one on this one is that also, these are new and aspiring farmers are getting into this industry. They don't have a farm to go back to.
Oh, yeah.
Access to land is so
Yep.
expensive, but they want to know what else I can do, just, to support farming, and I think forestry would be another piece of that.
Yeah.
Folks are falling a little bit behind. Can we move on? We have yet to hear from the SFPA.
Nothing Forestry Awareness Day, March 10th. Like I said, we don't have the well this year, so occupying that space, but certainly will be there. Issues that we'll be focused on include the Environmental Protection Fund. Extended producer responsibility is a big topic this year. We are going to be talking about wood product markets, mass timber, embodied carbon, and other ways that we can be doing it. So there's a number of bills that have been introduced. These will be outside of the budget that's there. A little bit in on the insurance industry, just trying to look at ways, if we can break this glass ceiling on trial lawyers, there's lots of business savings that can be done. That's outside of the Wood Products Development Council, but the manufacturer insurance costs are through the roof for everybody. So that's a big thing for us from an industry point of view. And I will share with you all, because it's going to come out Monday, I'll be retiring in June.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we are going to be looking for a new executive director at the ESFPA. So it's been a little over 10 years.
Yeah, congratulations.
We have work for you to, the minute
I
you
was just-
retire, you're gonna be helping us on our nursery grant job.
All right.
I could think of a few other things too that you can continue to support, yes.
But no, so
Good for you.
it's time, my second retirement.
Yeah.
The one that I'm definitely,
Gonna stick to.
no job in the wings.
John, they told me that there are opportunities to volunteer, sign on volunteer.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of waiting
They
to see
told me.
where the cards unfold. Mike, you should see what the list my daughter and wife had for me.
Oh,
The homestead.
I bet.
So,
Hmm.
so yes, no, but E ESFPA will be circulating the job announcement come next week, and
Okay.
if anybody knows anybody interested.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you, Ed.
You've been an excellent advocate for our industry, and no doubt you will be missed.
I'll still be here for a few more months.
Yeah.
All right.
End of June.
That concludes agency and partner updates, Ed.
You can run the
Okay.
trailer.
Yeah.
Ah.
No.
The new business and member reports. The new business and member reports was intended to be open up ideas from the members of the council for projects we could get involved in. I think we've pretty well covered that, but if there's anything else, this would be the time to bring it up. We good? All right. I think the only thing left is to open the floor to the public members who may, or the public attendees who may have been dialed in. Is there anybody out there that has any comment? Hearing none.
I want to note that Jeremy Paris had some microphone issues, but he has dropped some really good ideas in the chat as well. And he's representing Ontario County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Oh, thank you. We have not set a date for our next meeting. That'll come out shortly. Am I correct about that, Tim and Jeff?
Yeah, we haven't set a date yet. One thing that I do want to float is the next 2 quarterly meetings will be held in favorable weather. And why not? Have
Q3 at least. We don't know about Q2.
Yeah. Why not? Let's think about logical places where we could meet that are not in this building. I'm thinking field trips. Now, we do have a open meetings law policy that we need to conduct these things, meetings, but they don't have to be long.
Well, yeah, so we've successfully run hybrid meetings where we are in kind of a meeting room location, whether it's on a campus or something to that effect. We can have a business meeting and then adjourn, and then we could, stay together and go tour something. So yes. we can do
Yeah.
that.
So we're wide open for ideas. We've got, the whole industry is before us. So if there's something that we, if there's something favored or something impressive or something that we should put eyes on, we're all ears. Give us, I think if you're going to send us ideas, let's hopefully there's going to be a facility there that can accommodate the business meeting, and then
Or close by.
or close by, And then, and then we can maybe spend several hours learning and engaging with the industry. So.
I'd say some, just to throw them out there, some of our facilities have boardrooms that are big enough to accommodate the size, plus they have Zoom capabilities.
Perfect.
Yep.
So, I know that Wagner Owego's got a big enough room, Wagner Cayuta's got a big enough room. If you haven't been to the Cornell Forest, what's the name of it? Arnott. That they've got it might be hard to zoom from, but they certainly got field visits that are down there. You can see the maple production facility there, but to see the smash walls is always very cool. The Suslaw Education Center in Greene County. There's not a mill nearby there or anything, but that is a great outreach and education facility that I think it's Cornell Cooperative Extension, Greene County runs that. It's not too far from this area to go to, and if you do it in the summer-ish time, fall early enough, go to the Ranger School. They certainly have the facility capacity to do it. You can probably get up to some of the TMO properties, see some of that, or Newcomb has
That's cool.
some meeting facilities, or the Adirondack Interpretive Center.
Yeah, and if we've got everybody in one location, we also can set up a tripod and record the meeting, and then we can post that to YouTube.
Yeah, like you said, you're not super legally subject to the.
We are not. This is best practice.
So if you get it as a meeting, but any one of those, it gives you great field visits.
Yeah, that'd be
To
great.
get out and talk to people, or have people come talk to you. That's the other thing is get some other outside people than your board members to come in and say, hey, here's what we're up against.
Yep.
While you're doing those tours.
Excellent
If you're up
idea.
for it, go west, go out where Ed is and see some facilities out there. The Gutchess Freedom Mill, Western New York, a nice facility. They have little, I don't know if they got a big meeting space, but there's meeting space. Ed and those folks out there can find a place for you.
Yeah, if you're at Freedom, you kind of have to go to Villa.
Well, but you can find anywhere. Go meet in a fire hall or
Yeah.
something
Come to
like that.
Johnsonburg, we got a Zoom.
Somebody will
You
spot
come
you.
right
Yeah.
to our.
There you go.
I mean, if you go into the Finger Lakes area, go to the, what's the food place that
Yeah.
you guys are affiliated
The
with?
cheese.
No,
Wine.
Taste New York.
Place that,
The what,
in
It's
Canandaigua.
the
yeah,
wine,
the Finger
yeah.
Lakes, the Finger Lakes Welcome Center?
Yeah, but it also does the food manufacturing. and
Okay,
The
yeah.
demonstration
Yep.
project, they got the big sea kitchen and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's some wood product facilities out in that
So
area.
the
that
wine
you
and
could-
culinary center.
Yeah.
The hole in the bear.
Another mill.
Yeah,
that
we
we
can
do
host.
is,
We can host also.
Whiteman Lumber is a manufacturer that doesn't have like the latest in the scanning. But one nice thing about Whiteman, is some of the pictures here, they do retail as well. So they're selling containers internationally and the local Cooperstown high-end vacation market.
Yeah.
So you get a flavor for what a manufacturer, and then there's Gutchess and Wagner.
Yeah, Whiteman used to have a really nice town credit east building. They don't open anymore.
And then there's always, we talk a lot about mass timber, the Uniland plant would be for folks that had not seen that,
That's your deal.
because it's, yes, well, Sydney, Unadilla, same thing.
Yeah.
But the plants in Sydney, but, it's like, oh, we'll just make it, but it's fairly sophisticated, that
It
should
is.
do it. So it's not the easiest thing, but there are some small, but that give people a chance on the committee to see some of the manufacturing.
Bowman lumber's not far from that either.
We have the new.
Bowman's
meeting
on
space
81,
our
right?
break.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set.
Does the old Hardin facility, I got wind that they might be value adding to low grade?
That's B&B Forest Products is coming out of, the Jamesville quarry, and they're doing a huge expansion. You might want to talk to them.
That's B&B lumber, B&B lumber.
B&B,
Yeah.
sorry, not
Yeah.
Forest Products, B&B
The other
lumber.
B&B.
Yeah, the other B&B, they're doing a huge expansion, bringing, they've been up there for a year and a half. And they have their pallet manufacturing and some other packaging.
I talked to them about state production and they were not interested.
Yeah.
Probably, well, when he first bought the property.
You might talk to them again. They
Really?
still-
We've got a lot of things to do on here and we'll certainly take more
But that's
suggestions via
McConnellsville,
email.
they
Yeah.
bought the former Hardin
Yeah.
facility. You talk about a place that has space, if anybody wanted to
Oh,
go
the
in
space.
and locate something there, they.
Co-locate?
happy to
Absolutely.
co-locate And share space, I mean.
Which one was this? I'm
This
sorry.
is, they own the whole former Hardin furniture.
B&B.
McConnellsville, New York, it's in Oneida County.
Okay,
So
thank
they're
you.
using probably less than 25%
Oh,
of the
wow.
total
Oh, yeah,
capacity.
it's huge.
The site is huge. And there's like one of the big manufacturing buildings is totally vacant. The old buildings are all vacant, but they would need a lot more work. So,
And they might get torn down.
They had offices and showrooms.
but
and-
they have a lot of property out there that if anybody wanted to
Gorgeous
talk
property.
about, I'm sure they'd be happy to talk about co-locating.
Mhm.
A lot of infrastructure there that
Mhm.
can support additional manufacturing.
And they've got, in Syracuse, which again, they have the flooring operation.
They have Premier Flooring
Which
that's
is-
in East Syracuse, but they're completely pulling out of the Janesville port because they can't expand anymore.
Right, that's just give up.
So that's gonna move on to McConnellsville.
Hmm.
Which has been a challenge. I mean, they've had a tremendous workforce that some of it's coming with them, but a lot of the workers don't wanna have to move. So they're doing a lot of.
Tim and Jeff and Brian, can we rely on you to propose a location and date for the upcoming meetings?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll synthesize down these ideas, taking some good notes and marking the time in which we're having this discussion so we can go back and recording. And if anybody's got some other ideas, please send them our way. But yes, we can do that.
Excellent. All right, any other
I'm hearing
business?
that we need to be meeting more than quarterly. Is that just kidding? But there's a lot of business to
I
do.
mean, I think the other big thing, I want to stress this, because this is a challenge for us on March 10th. Going and lobbying for $20,000 is kind of embarrassing. If we're not asking for more money in next year's EPF budget, we're gonna be in a sorry case. So if you can spend the $600,000, spend it. You just
Yeah.
encumber it, I don't care. Spend it, so you're going in saying. I
We
mean,
need more.
to go in 2 years in a row and say, we haven't spent money,
Right.
trust me. It's not a pretty picture.
Agreed.
This $20,000 line in the ETF.
Yeah.
But we can't end on that. John.
John, can you help us understand the cycle of that? So March 10th is too soon.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
Next September, the agencies, Ag Markets and DEC are gonna make their recommendations to the governor about how much money should be in the EPF. 3 years in a row, we've been saying the Wood Products Development Council should be funded at $1 million plus.
Each year.
Well, we missed the window when she raised it from 400 to 425 million. Trust me, I think next year, there's gonna be an effort to try to push it from 425 to 500 million. I'm happy to leave with you as a legacy, my ask for when they wanted to go from 400 million to 500 million, we wanted 10% to go to private forestry. I think there's an argument to be made that the largest landscape natural resource deserves $100 million worth of expenses in the EPF. Or $10 million worth of expenses in the EPF, 10 million. If you're spending 500 million, why don't our private forests deserve it? And the Wood Products Development Council to get $1 million of that? Why not?
I mean, that's funding.
You
that
can't
we-
spend 1.6 million in 5 years. Nobody's gonna give you any money.
Yeah.
So that's, but you guys are gonna be making that pitch August, September. So. And I can tell you that the second floor is gonna say, so have you spent your 1.6 million yet?
And then help us understand ESFPA's role in that, in lobbying for the council, if that's a.
We can lobby for the money, and we pushed, when we went into we knew the EPF was gonna get up. We can lobby for the money. So we pushed for the money for that. We wanted to get money funded to the soil and water conservation districts and Cornell Cooperative Extension. We wanted the Regenerate New York to go from 500,000 to 2 million. You know, I mean, even though this year it's gonna look like Regenerate New York and AMP is gonna have a lot of money, this is one shot funding. You're gonna be back
and
to
there's a lot of
$500,000.
challenges.
You're among the lowest lines in the EPF. Lines are going up all the time, and all our private forestry lines have been dormant and woefully underfunded. And we've been saying that since they got funded in 2019. I mean, even look at community forest hasn't moved in 6 years.
We appreciate your guidance, John. Thank you.
So, but so it's.
I think a focus on rural economies, like what I'm hearing from, you know, higher levels is that like a focus on rural economies is the way to start to pitch this, which is very appropriate. And one thing that we didn't mention is there is a study coming out of Michigan State. It was funded by the National Association, no, the NMSFA, the Northeast Midwest State Foresters Association, analyzing the wood products industry in New York State from 2017 to 2023 using that national data set. What's it called?
Implant.
And there's some really interesting, it's a breakdown of all the sectors of the wood products economy. This is coming out.
Michigan?
But it's New York State. It was just funded through a bunch of people who had done other state analyses.
But that's what,
This was the ESF analysis is going forward. This was just between
okay.
It's
Oh,
27 to
a
2023.
snapshot during COVID.
2017, so it's a 5-year snapshot. It shows the trend over 5 years, broken down by the specific sectors. It's like, in the 3 years I've been here, I've never seen anything that could
If the
that
gap that we haven't
articulated
seen.
what's going on in New York State. So it's not a long study. And it's a little bit of a dry read, but it's like very critical and it has some really key top line elements. So that's another thing. I
Has
think
that,
this
has that been
group-
published yet?
No,
Okay.
but it's very, very shortly will
Yeah.
come out and we will circulate it. But I think
course.
this group is gonna
Do,
want to look at that and look at what insights we can glean
Some
from
of
it.
the numbers were rather optimistic because where we would have thought they would have declined significantly, they hadn't.
Like
Now, we don't
increase
know.
in efficiency, they're saying decrease in head count in certain areas, but increase in output and efficiency. So there may be a
Not to mention the things
technology.
you're saying, Bill,
Yeah.
that despite declines in hardwood production across the country, and particularly in the Northeast with hardwood, we've been able to maintain New York.
Product quality.
But that's it. But those are numbers that will appeal very attractive to the second floor and to whatnot, when you say, we got durability, but we also have critical needs. And if we can do it, because everybody's gonna be like, isn't this a dinosaur industry? Is this a dying industry? What is happening? Because if you look at the national trends, you'd say, oh, there's risk in this industry. But
Is it similar throughout the whole Midwest or is New York kind of an
No, because if you look at some of the other hardwood states, there's, if you go to West Virginia, the fourth state is.
Michigan State, they're gonna be sharing it through the Northeast Midwest State Foresters Alliance. They're gonna have they're supposed to be putting all the other states' reports so we can compare Pennsylvania. Just to kind of get a snapshot, we're always comparing Maine, and Maine doesn't really necessarily apply to us with cover types, but Pennsylvania does.
Great.
So,
but some of the numbers are I was surprised when Scott and Fiona were talking about it at SAF. Is that really accurate? Scott's like, based on what we're reading, yes, but nobody's seen the real meat and potatoes.
Okay, well, look forward
So it's very encouraging to say, some of them are also a little bit scary, but.
Really good.
That's true. It's a better message than what it might otherwise be.
it's not as dire as what we're led to believe in some instances.
So, yeah.
Good.
But that will build on what you're getting out of ESF, because I think what they were starting to say, yeah, we can go fill the gaps that we all haven't seen since 2017, 2019, when we stopped getting the data, but they're really looking about checking forward. Which their first data set, I think they said was gonna be 2024.
Good.
So it just
So
connects.
it's kind of pick up where this one just left off.
Yeah.
If I'm getting that right from Mariano.
I again have to kind of, it's not just rhetorical concern, but the disconnect between final manufacturing and the raw material resource. And the supply chain is critical and it's important, but it's not always that. I mean, again, if we're losing, what do you call it, Gunlock that had 200 employees that are gonna be out of jobs in 6 months. Not a lot of their material, they're a wood products manufacturer, but they don't have a supply chain directly back to New York Forest. They use some New York wood, but, and there's others, like that. And so the idea that you have to link to the timber resource, it's cool, I like it, but I don't, if you make that distinction, Stickley Furniture manufactures a ton of very nice furniture, very important manufacturer, wood products manufacturer. Not a lot of their wood is sourced from New York State.
Yep. My same problem.
Same thing, yeah, with,
Yeah.
the,
States.
I haven't seen your barrels, but for the website, they're top quality, but the white oak
Well,
doesn't,
we do have it now, but it's Pennsylvania mill milling it, so it's
yeah.
timbered, sent over there, and then it comes back to us.
And,
So,
and I think in each case, it's a very, very strong story and a very, very strong industry. But if the legislators say, oh, it's got to have the direct link, it's like, seriously,
That's tough, though.
It's tough, right, and it all comes back to, right, preserving jobs in New York made. New York made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
I just, my role in that, and it's critical that it's each, Steinway Piano is kind of a good piano manufacturer. Not a lot of their wood comes from New York State. A lot of it does, maple, but you'd hate to see these industries leave.
Mhm.
And that's rural. I mean, Steinway's not rural, but Gunlock was relatively rural.
Where's Steinway?
Well, Steinway is in Long Island.
Long Island City, right on the East
Yeah.
River.
Gotcha.
So, and there's a ton of manufacturers in New York City that do a great job of wood products manufacturing, that implant should.
But what's coming from New York is typically from rural New York, so like, painting that picture still is.
Well, no, you gotta remember this, when you start looking at secondary manufacturing, huge amount from New York City and Long Island, huge amount.
Of manufacturers.
Yep. And now the next connection is, yes, there may be ways that we can get them to use more New York wood. Like we did a connection with PID Floors, which is very big in New York City. And they now purchase most of their white oak and red oak. Or not red oak, red oak and yeah.
This became.
I'm sorry, maple, red oak and maple flooring in New York. Where they hadn't been doing it because they didn't know any connections. And then
Didn't have the
we did a
market
meeting
opportunity.
down there jointly with them on Subway pre-COVID. And they said, oh, and they connected with some outlets in New York and started realizing they could get it from New York, and the owner's like, well, I should do that. I did a
It makes
trip to
economic
New York
sense.
City or to Washington.
Yeah.
So it's helping to make those connections that can do it. But there's window and door manufacturers and flooring outlets down in the city that could make more New York connections if they had.
So how do
And
we
I want to say that
$600,000
there's a design build entity called Trilocks, which actually we proposed for a seat if it's in this council that is doing incredible things with sustainability and local and regional lumber. And they have big inroads into the design community, the architectural community in New York State. They're the ones who did the urban wood pilot project with us when I was at New York City Parks, milling, with a portable mill wood that had come out of the East River Park, in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. But they have, really major capital construction jobs in New York City. And I think making that connection, there's also the Wood Innovation Grant, the federal grant that just went to the
New York Climate Exchange Group to design and engineer, you know, the largest mass timber. I think we do need to draw in people connected to these larger
Yes.
markets.
Absolutely.
Just to continue to make those connections between some of the innovations that are happening, not in rural areas, kind of on secondary processing with the land itself, with the logging, the mill, local mills.
Well, and then some of these things, if they take off, they're gonna have to source the materials.
And they want that storytelling, you know, there's even manufacturing, you know, in Queens, the studio, they use the wood in New York City to make lights and they even had a connection with Room and Board, that national catalog company to make picture frames, but it was all because the wood had come out of New York City. And there's a lot of wood on Long Island, the softwood that's coming out of the pine barrens that nobody can figure out what to do with. But I think we're just not making the right connections. We pay a lot of money to basically landfill wood, which is absolutely ridiculous. If only we could make that connection. So there's opportunity there, and maybe that's a piece of this too, is finding out who can develop this a little bit more downstate.
Is it hosting something like that where it allows those vendors to come and meet these individuals?
Right.
And kind of more of a meet and greet to start that business conversation.
Well, and that's what like US Commercial Services does. I mean, you know, if you are trying to make a connection in another country, they vet for you who your, I mean, like goodness, talk to Global New York. That's what they do, is they vet for an industry. Okay, you want to do business here, let me, you know, vet for you the top businesses that you might be able to pair up and do business with.
Individuals you should
So
contact.
we could do that in state, you know. It's like you're
So we could
looking
sponsor
to, you're
something
looking
like
for new
that.
clients.
Yeah, we could sponsor something like that right within our own state.
Right,
Good idea.
exactly.
Excellent.
Or for what,
Spend money down and start making some connections, inroads to forest products.
yeah, and the same way that I know Ag Markets has done, okay, you're a farmer and you're looking for new distribution, how do we get your product down in New York City to the people who need the food? So it's the same thing, different industry. You know?
So I think this one, go ahead.
Hold on, meeting date was the topic that we were discussing.
I think we're gonna get.
We need more time.
Hold
Right,
on, hold on. We had discussed, second month of each quarter, second Tuesday, that would be May 12th. Can we, since we've got majority of council members present right now, check schedules to see if that would work?
You said May 12th?
Yep.
So we can coordinate this with a trip if it.
Yeah.
I'm clear on May 12th.
Okay. Feels like it's a long way away, but.
Yeah.
Probably, right now it's clear.
Okay.
Same time.
Hopefully the damn budget.
Yeah, it would likely be the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we did a trip,
Yeah,
that
that's
would
right.
change a little bit.
That's a
We
big
went
if.
somewhere else, but.
Yeah, but nailing down a date that we can then work on, location, which could also encompass, a tour of a facility.
Right.
If we're not able to swing that the third quarter, we'll certainly work on that, or second quarter, we'll certainly work on the third, but yeah.
Yeah, plan for same time, although if we do go somewhere, that might change a little bit, but.
Yep. Thank you.
Right.
And then just real quick for those who are with us here in this room, the council members, we can reimburse you for any costs associated with attending today. Which is like travel or lodging if you can't farm. And say the night, it'd be Melissa who was in the room with us for a while. She'd been in the corner. She's the contact, but you could of course just email me and I'll connect you with Melissa for the paperwork.
Sounds good. Anything else? Perfect. I
Just
have a
homework.
call at 1
A lot of
o'clock.
homework.
I have to bail.
Yeah, Yeah, Tom left us as well, and,
And Jennifer.
yeah, Jennifer.
All right.
So thanks.
I just want to thank everybody for attending and participating. It was a great meeting. We'll catch you next time.
See you so much, Ed.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Right.
So, you look through this.
Oh. Recording.
I'm
Recording.
going to.
Stop the recording.
Yeah, could you, I mean, I can,
I think you can do it.
And
I
my
can
idea
take it.
is
I just
going to
get out of the layers of stuff.
identifying barriers to accessing urban woodlands.
Yeah, everybody's.
Just